are another one. They could absolutely get across the line here and win today. With SVG, I mean, he's got to get his head back in the game for this one. I know he's moving to the States next year. We know Trackhouse is confirmed to race in NASCAR across all 3 tiers. But he needs to think about the championship. If there's a DNF here today from the Chevy Camaros in the front, the Coca-Cola cars, he's right back in this.
Oh, he could be a 4-time Supercars champ leaving to head to the US next year. The cars are rolling out of the pit lane, down among the VIPs and sponsors and guests who are on the grid. There is plenty of excitement, plenty of expectation, because Melbourne's classic race is back. For the first time since 2019, we're going to have a Sandown 500. And as Matt mentioned, there's so much history here, so much expectation. In fact, we're just hearing word through race start is being delayed. There was an incident in the previous Super 2 race where there were a couple of cars that made contact with the guardrail, which needed to be pushed back into place. So race start has been delayed 15 minutes. It was due to start at 2:15 p.m. local time. It will now start here in Melbourne at 2:30 p.m. So a bit more time to build up before the start of this, but amazing history. And this is Melbourne's opportunity for supercars racing. It's been a bit starved in recent years with COVID. We haven't had Sandown as a 500 for many years. In fact, we haven't had a pre-Bathurst 500 kilometre since 2018.
Yeah.
Because the last time we had the 500 at Sandown, it was in November of that year. A field of 27 cars today. There's 25 championship regulars and 2 wild cards, one of which is driven by none other than 6-time Sandown 500 winner, 3-time champ, 7-time Bathurst winner, Hall of Famer Craig Lowndes is back in Supercars today, driving the 888 wildcard entry for Super Cheap Auto alongside Zane Goddard. The cars are rolling around very slowly on this exit from the pit lane. They don't want to use any fuel. There are so many ramifications to today's race, Matt. These cars this year in Supercars are brand new, completely new. Everything we knew about supercars before is pretty much out the window.
I'm so looking forward to this because we're going into the unknown. We don't know how long. There's guesstimations, there's spreadsheets, there's graphs in the pits that are going to show you what they could predictably do. But now we get to see it in real time. How far can they go on a set of tyres? How far can they go on a tank of fuel around here? Rumours around you could get this done in 4 stops, but you could also get it done in 5 stops because the degradation here today is going to be a really, really quick degradation on the tyres, so you could sprint through on 5 as well.
It is a tyre race, but it's a big fuel tank. We'll cover off all of the technicalities. Our Repco authorised service pit lane is going to be really busy today. You can rely, of course, on your local Repco authorised service centre, and there's a bunch of pit crews who will be busy in it today to service those cars. It is a perfect day here at Sandown. Just can't wait to get this underway. This big grandstand is full of people who love their racing, and today we get the opportunity really to start the road to Bathurst with the 49th Sandown Endurance Classic. It goes all the way back to 1964. It was a 6-hour race. It was won by an Alfa Romeo driven by Dr. Roberto Bussanello of Italy. It's seen some of the greatest drivers. It was the private playground for Peter Brock and Alan Moffat. In the 70s, the 80s, they were the stars here at this place. And when this grandstand erupts, you'll hear it here on SEN with Supercars, with thanks to Tyre Power. Don't forget, they are your trusted local. You'll hear that grandstand roar at the end of lap 1.
As Adelaide is to me, the Sandown 500 is to you. When was the first time you came here? Can you remember?
Yeah, remember vividly. 1986. It's showing my age just a little bit here. There were turbo Nissan Skylines. There was the infield track in play.
Yes.
Peter Brock and Alan Moffat drove together. The world thought that the world had frozen. It was very strange. But now we get the Supercar stars to write their chapter of history. And don't forget, the last time we had this race, it was won by Jamie Whincup and Craig Lowndes. And of course, a new era now with the Chevrolet Camaro, the Ford Mustang. There is so much to look forward to. We're going to get this race started at 2:30 p.m. a local time here in Melbourne. It's a good chance for us to take a quick break here on SEN. When we come back, not far away from the start, Supercars Sandown 500 on SEN. Great to have you with us. This is SEN Supercars on your Sunday afternoon. Thanks to Tyre Power. Toyo Open Country tyres, #1 on the grid. You could be off to Vegas as well with them. We are getting ready for the start of the first endurance race of the 2023 Supercars Championship. A delayed start if you're just joining us here in Melbourne. Barrier repairs from an earlier support race have meant that the pre-race festivities have been pushed back just a little bit here. So start time 2:30 p.m. Local time here in Melbourne. Aaron Noonan and Matt Naulty here with you for today's race. 27 cars, 54 drivers, 161 laps, 500 kilometres ahead of the Sandown 500. We should run through for you to know who is where on the grid for today's race, Matt. And front row of the grid, it is the Erebus Coca-Cola Camaros. It'll be Jack Perkins in Will Brown's car to start the race. Pretty much all the co-drivers are going to start, bar a handful. On the front row of the grid alongside David Russell, who is driving the championship-leading Coke number 99 car that's driven normally by Brodie Kostecki. He'll jump in. Of course, the co-drivers must do a minimum of 54 of the 161 laps today. And with the way that the fuel tank situation is it's a bigger tank this year and the tyres dropping away, it won't marry up nicely with the old days where co-driver got to 54, fuel ran out, tyres were done, all change, all done. It's going to cross over. They will do some heavy lifting today, but those are the cars that start front row of the grid.
That first three rows, Noons, you've got so much experience, but then you've got Kevin Estre, who starts in the 19 today. First look in a supercar, first look in Sandown. Had a bit of a moment in the late stages of the warm-up today. Pinched the front left brake and had a scary moment going off into the outfield there at turn 1. So he's surrounded by so many of these big names just ahead.
It's going to be forward on the second row of the grid. James Moffat, SEN Zone, will drive alongside Cam Waters. James in car 6 will start third. Fourth is the Davison brothers. Will Davison, his best qualifying of the season so far. His big brother Alex will take the wheel of car 17. They start from fourth on the grid. From P5, the 7-time Supercars champion Jamie Whincup sharing with Brock Feeney, who is right in the title fight. Sixth on the grid is the Cool Drive car. Team owner Tim Blanchard will drive with regular Todd Hazelwood. The Grove Mustangs, and this is a wonderful thing. We should talk about this quickly.
Yeah.
This is the Penrite team. They have changed their liveries this weekend to an Alan Moffat 1979 a Bathurst hardtop tribute livery. They're raising funds for Dementia Australia. Of course, Alan Moffat, these days, is in a home. He saw these cars the other day, which was amazing. The national anthem completed on the grid here.
Have you got the shivers as well?
And you know what you just said earlier about the full grandstand? It's full. We're ready to go here at Sandown. We'll run you through the rest of the grid. Seventh, as Matt mentioned, Kevin Estre, the Frenchman. He's a Porsche factory driver in the World Endurance Championship for Porsche Penske. He's teaming up with Matthew Payne, the young, impressive Kiwi rookie. Alongside him is Garth Tander, for the first time in history in a Ford, in a supercar race, teaming with David Reynolds. He's 8th on the grid. Gary Jacobson, back in supercars this weekend, co-driving with Thomas Randall. They're in the Castrol Mustang. They start from 9th, and rounding out the 10, the very impressive truck assist car, the Jack LeBrock Jaden Ojeda Matt Stone Racing Camaro. It will be Jaden Ojeda, the man they call Juice, at the wheel for the start of this race.
And he was quick earlier in the weekend too in practice. Out of 11, you've got the first of the Noonan cars here. Jonathan Webb will start that one with Tim Slade later on today. Alongside him, Jalen Robotham, who started in Toyota 86 a few seasons ago, is with Cameron Hill, who's in his maiden run in the Supercars Championship for Matt Stone Racing. Michael Caruso will start the DeWalt Chevy Camaro with Mark Winterbottom taking over the reins. A lot of experience in that car. Alongside him, James Courtney, the first of the main drivers we know about that's going to be in the field, staying out of 14 with Zach Best.
And that is the strategy we often see from faster teams in the back of the pack. Put your full-time regular driver in and get them to try to make up some ground. That's what they'll be hoping for James Courtney in car 5. From 15th on the grid, the first of the Brad Jones Racing Camaros. It's Dale Wood teaming with Andre Heimgartner. Alongside Lee Holdsworth, back from his day job. He was a full-timer for many, many years in supercars racing. He's 16th and re-teaming with Chaz Mostert. Last time they drove together, they won Bathurst in 2021. 17th on the grid, last year's Super 2 champ, Declan Fraser, driving with Tyler Everingham in the number 56 Tickford Mustang. 18th on the grid is the Newlawn Camaro from Premier Racing, James Golding and Dylan O'Keefe. Dylan's been busy in Porsche Carrera Cup this weekend. He will start in car number 31. Richie Stanaway will start the Shane Van Gisbergen Camaro from the information we're receiving. He'll start 19th on the grid, and then the second of the Shell V-Power Mustangs, Tony D'Alberto at the wheel of car number 11. He shares with its regular driver, Townsville winner, Anton Di Pasquale. By the way, quick check for Motorcast Shaping and Building Australia of our weather. 21 degrees, sunny, humidity 53%, not 53 degrees, a max today of 22. Blue skies, a little bit of cloud around. Weather has not been mentioned once in terms of rain, sleet, drama, hail. We've had it all here before, but I think we're good today.
And usually you wouldn't rule out some kind of rain in the distance, but there is none to speak of out here this weekend at Sandown. Warren Luff will start out of position 20 in the Toyota Forklifts entry with Scott Pye. Jackson Evans is back for another 2 with SET Logistics Racing. He's with Jack Smith. They'll start out of 22. Craig Lowndes will start the Super Cheap Auto car out of position 23 with Zane Goddard, and will take us down to the tail of the field for the race of 27 cars here today at the Sandown 500. They're about to set off Noons very soon for their formation lap. And with that extra time that's been added, it's going to compress our finishing time here today too. We can't move the time certain point. Time
certain is 5:43 plus 1 lap. So we've had a few time certain Sandown 500s in our time. Just a couple with barrier repairs and all sorts of stuff that has gone on over the course of time. But there must be a time certain finish. Race record, by the way, here was the last time that we had a Sandown 500, which was 3 hours, 13 minutes, 9, do you want the 4 decimals? 0.9977. There was only one safety car that day, and it only affected 4 laps of the race of the 161 laps. So it is going to be one of those scenarios today where everything we knew before means nothing because these cars are completely different. The fuel tanks are bigger, they'll run longer, but they won't run longer because the tyres are different and they won't hold on for as long. It's going to be a tyre race more than a fuel race today, and it's not making mistakes. These cars were deliberately designed, the new era Gen 3 supercars, with the stated aim of making them harder to drive, and, well, they've achieved that, that's for sure.
David Reynolds remarked earlier today, getting to the end with no mistakes, and you could win this race. I've got a feeling we're in for a very exciting, at least first 50 laps of this race here today. We've got co-drivers, and yeah, you can say they're co-drivers, but they're experienced drivers. Gone are the days of having a co-driver that would suit up for one event. These guys are either racing in Carrera Cup, or they're racing overseas, or in different kinds of formula across the world or across Australia right now. They're all gun drivers. There's 54 of them out there, and all 54 are world class.
There's no duds. You don't get on this grid if you're a dud. You might not be quite as resumed as some of the others who are perhaps a bit better known, but it is a pretty top-notch field. The last few cars on the grid, from 24th, Macaulay Jones and Jordan Boyce, they are still in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Pizza Hut car. Delivery was so good that they put in that car at the last round, they thought that they would leave it on for the first of these endurance races. 25th on the grid's Bryce Forward in the Middies Camaro with Dean Fiore. 26th, way back, Nick Percat and Fabian Coulthard, second of the Mobil 1 Mustangs. They've had a clutch issue all weekend. It's been an absolute disaster so far. They will start from P26. And rounding out the field is actually the second of the wildcard cars, young Aaron Love from Western Australia, teaming up also with another Western Australian in Jake Kostecki. That is a second car from the Blanchard Racing team, brand new, making its racing debut. They've had a brief chance to test it at Winton, but this is its grand racing debut here this weekend.
Backed by Racer Industries too, part of Blanchard Racing team for this race. So 27 cars, Noons. Turn 1, it narrows up, but turn 2 and 3, if you can get through there on the first lap, we're halfway there.
We are, but we're also halfway to the next problem, which is always potentially a scenario. But it's a really interesting championship fight that we've got going on here. That will be an element of how this all plays out in this race as well, because the key here is the co-drivers just need to survive. They will not win the race for you, but they could very well lose it for you. And that will have been drummed into them all week and all weekend by those team principals and the engineers up and down the pit lane. Do your job. That's all we need from you. Nothing more, nothing less.
Exactly. And having the experience of someone like Jack Perkins in the field as well, he'll feel pressure, but he's done enough of these now knowing they just need a bit of luck this time. The last two Bathurst campaigns weren't great for Erebus with Will Brown and of course Jack Perkins, but they've been brilliant during practice and qualifying. Jacko himself has been racing in Super 2 in that beautiful throwback livery to Father Larry's 1993 Bathurst win. And when you looked at it first, I go, hang on, what's Larry's car doing out there? They've got it so right.
Yeah, they've put in the hard yards to make sure that it looked exactly as that car was 30 years ago. Slightly different underneath the skin, that's for sure, these days. But, of course, Jack Perkins, he's a guy who I'm really looking at for these endurance races because he's driving with Will Brown. They've been together for a couple of years now. And Jack Perkins' single focus in motor racing is to win the Bathurst 1000, the race that his dad won 6 times. He's been going to it since he was a baby. He was there when he was 6 months old in 1986, and he hasn't missed one ever since, whether he was a kid in the pits or he's been racing since 2006. He's got a big chance here this year to drive with Will Brown in the year that Erebus are fighting for the championship. They're winning races, they're taking poles, they're winning piles of trophies. It is the perfect time to be driving one of those cars.
It was funny to watch Brodie yesterday during the original qualifying session. There was only 5 laps. Everybody in that 20-minute session had over 11 laps during that original qualifying. The Erebus 99 car did 5, and to set that time in there straight away, that's a big statement to the field.
That says, cop this.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, there's no... And the other thing is here, there is a limit on the amount of tyres that the teams have this weekend, so there's no point trying to go a bit faster, bit faster, bit faster. Save the rubber for today because you're going to need it with the way that the tyres will be wearing out. They will not last as long as a tank of fuel will last over the course of today.
And we'll talk about brakes as well during that. And that's been a talking point during the practice sessions, particularly in the warm-up this morning. They are going to play a big part in this one. You mess up the brake change or the rotor change in this one, and it could instantly put you out of the running in the 500 here today.
I was talking to some people in pit lane this morning, and that's what they're worried about because with these new cars, the brake pad change isn't a case like the old cars where you pop the pad out, you take the whole unit off with the pad in the caliper and change the caliper on the disc. So that sounds nice in theory.
Yeah.
It sounds nice in the workshop when it's cold and you're practicing, but you've got to be able to do it when it's hot. And here at Sandown, there's a pit entry road straight after the last corner when you've just used them really hard. So if you're one of the early pits in the pit bay, you're going to have really a position where you're quite warm in terms of your brakes. So there could be a bit of a scenario. That's the one they're worried about this weekend. There's all sorts of other factors. The cars are harder to get into and out of. They're smaller in that driver entry part compared to the older model cars. The refuelling is right next to the driver door. With some teams, they actually have to turn the fuel nozzle sideways to be able to pop the door open to get in and out. So all of these elements are a factor and a worry, but it's the brake one. You don't have to change brakes. It's not compulsory here. It is at Bathurst. There's some teams who are umming and ahhing. If they can avoid the danger of potentially getting that wrong, they will. But then again, you want the increased brake pads to give you better performance later in the race when you might be fighting for a podium or for a win. So it's a double-edged sword of what you do or don't do.
And you want practice too. You'd want to do it here in a live race situation before you get to Bathurst where you've got no choice and have to do that there. So many scenarios to play out here at the Penrite Oil Sandown 500. The curtain raiser to this year's Bathurst 1000. The world is back to normal. We're back at Sandown for the spiritual 500k race. And the Melbourne fans, I don't just say the Melbourne fans, it's people from right across the country and New Zealand that have made their way across here to Sandown Raceway. We're about 25 minutes to the southeast of Melbourne at the famous Sandown Racecourse. And in a few moments' time, we go racing here for 500 kilometres.
I always wonder, are we going to see much of the safety car? Of course, our safety car partner is BP. Fill up at BP. Win a Supercars weekend. The details, bp.com.au/super holiday. Well, if you want to know about the history of Sandown 500s and safety cars, we generally don't get lots. Last time we had this race, in 2019, there was 1. That's why we got the race record, because we didn't slow them down for very long. 2 in 2018, 1 in 2017, 2 in 2016, 2 in 15 and 14, 3 in 2013 and 2 in 2012. That was the year that this race came back onto the calendar after 4 years of the 500 being down at Phillip Island to be the Bathurst race. I don't think we'll get to 2004 when it was wet in the outfield from a week worth of rain.
That was a long day.
That was a long day. 12 safety cars affecting 40 of the 161 laps. A quarter of the race was held behind the safety car.
And most of them sunk in the sand trap, sunk in water on the outfield, and just plainly got bogged.
Yeah, it was a disaster all round. Disaster all round. I think there's people still trying to get out of Sandown from that time. Yeah.
But that just shows where we've come from. When you look back then, there was a lot of privateers still in that 500k race back in 2004, 2005, where we had 12. With this quality of field we've got now, we shouldn't have too many. And you and I'm king of cursing commentary, as we know. It's bound to happen at some point.
Stop.
But if we could get through today, could you imagine going 500k's here without a stop?
Unlikely.
Yeah.
If we were in the old era cars, you might have twisted my arm and convinced me that we could have done that potentially, but just given the new cars, the lack of driving miles that some of the co-drivers have in them, no. You're trying to convince me, aren't you? But I'm not buying what you're selling.
A lot of fence sitting going on.
Yeah, I'm sitting on that fence really hard. The cars now are leaving on the warm-up lap for the Sandown 500. It's great to have you with us. This is SEN Supercars for tyre power. Pole position for value on Toyo tyres, and the cars are rolling on around to get themselves off and rolling for this 161 lapper. There is the championship fight. We haven't really talked about this. 300 points on the line to win. Kostecki leads by 137. It's another 91 back to Brock Feeney. It's another 30 back to Will Brown and 55 back to Chaz Mostert, who is the best of the Fords. He'll start from 16th with Lee Holdsworth in his car. So there's plenty of potential here for it to all swing around in one race, because normally it's 300 points over 2 or 3 races in a weekend. Right now, this is all on the one. If you come up short, you lose a big bundle in one hit.
And they've got to think about that. They've got to think about the championship. There's all the glory of winning the 500, winning the 1,000k race at Bathurst in a few weeks, but you've got to think about that championship. Gone the days where we'd run the championship, we'd come and start here for the endurance season, and it was all about winning the race. It was checkers or wreckers, effectively. But a bad one here or Bathurst, your season is done, or it could put you back up into it.
Yeah, we've got a real chance today for this championship battle to change around. The cars on the warm-up lap, you can hear them. They're on the back straight at the moment of this 3.1 kilometre, this historic venue, this racetrack around a racetrack. The horses race on the inside, the cars race on the outside. And right now, in those 27 supercars, there's 24 co-drivers who are going up against it. Some of them are highly credentialed in terms of being Bathurst winners, champions in various categories. We are going into a new era of supercars today. Everything they know is out the window. The cars are different. The engines are different. The aerodynamics are different. But it is the same story. Sandown is the traditional lead-up race to the Bathurst 1000. That will be in October. But right now, this is the road to Bathurst. This is where it starts on this great front straight, the Brock straight here at Sandown. And the cars now are lining up. Jack Perkins, the number 9 Coke Camaro, will peel across to take up pole position. Grandstand is full. They are ready for a rumble today as they line up for another classic supercar showdown.
And you can't help but feel the nerves. The 2 Coca-Cola racing cars pull into position. Moffat in the background is ready to line up in that monster Mustang. Alex Davison will start in the 17. Whincup, the defending champion, 7-time Supercars champion from 5, and Tim Blanchard back in the sport in his own race team, suiting up with Todd Hazelwood. They did that here several years ago, but remember that ended during the Race for the Grid event on Saturday afternoon. They'll start from 6. Kevin Estray, the international driver, starting from 7, and Garth Tander starting from 8. This is the Sandown 500.
The final couple of cars are rolling up into position. So many storylines, so many possibilities. Stay with us today on SEN Supercars at the Sandown 500, the 49th running of the Sandown Endurance Classic. This is round 9. It's race 23. Green flag at the back. We are ready to go. In Melbourne, the sun is shining, the sky is blue, and we've got Supercars off and rolling to turn 1. And from the second row of the grid, James Moffat makes a great start, but it's the two Coke cars that have sorted themselves out of the run to turn 1. Perkins leading, Russell next. Now it's Alex Davison in the Shell 17 car trying to round up Moffat. They fight for third into turns 2 and 3. It's really narrow. They're side by side. Moffat hangs on, the door's open, and Whincup grabs fourth. Davison back another spot.
So they've ticked the box. They've made it through the first sequence of turns. It's busy behind the scenes for the Coca-Cola Racing Chevy Camaros lead down this long back straight at Sandown Raceway for the first of 161 laps. Moffat tucks in a third spot now with Whincup in fourth. We're riding with Richie Stanaway, and it's just a wall of cars ahead. He tucks in behind Jackson Evans through turn 6 to change the direction and down to turn 9.
They're at Dandenong Road corner, the far end of the circuit, down at turn 9. This run back to the pits to end the first lap, and it's Jack Perkins in car 9 leading the way. David Russell, James Moffat, Jamie Whincup. The man moving is Garth Tander. Reigning Bathurst champ is up to 5th already in the David Reynolds number 26 Penrite Mustang. 1 lap down, 160 to go, and Jack Perkins has his nose in front as now Whincup launches a move on Moffat for third place. Turn 1, the 7-time champ is through.
And look at Tander. Tander is on the back of the Mustang through the chicane, so Garth is plenty pumped up. He's sharing with David Reynolds at Grove Racing. Easily the fastest car in that first 8 on the first lap. Everybody survives lap number 1 as Perkins, Russell, Whincup, Moffat, Tander, Alex Davison back to 6th, Estray in 7th. Blanchard is down to 8th with Caruso, and Jalen Robotham up into 10th.
So Tander is up 3 spots. Whincup is up 2, and Tander is looking for a little bit more. They're at the end of the back straight, down through Dandenong Road, through the S's, and look at Whincup locking the brakes as he attacks the back of David Russell. So it's Camaros 1, 2 and 3, Mustang 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's plenty of Fords in the fight in these early laps. Now Tander grabs Moffat at the penultimate corner. He's through to 4th. What a fight. Tander moving forward, 2 laps down, 159 to go. The top 3 Camaros, Matt, are just starting to edge away, but Russell is shadowing Perkins, and when you've got 2 cars together on the road from the one team, they have to split them in terms of their strategy. You can't pit 2 cars at the one time. There's only one pit boom.
That's right. Looking down the field here, Noons. Coulthard has moved up 5 positions already. Change of position here at turn number 3. So Whincup splits the Coca-Cola Racing Camaros and goes up into 2nd spot.
So Jamie Whincup and Garth Tander, 2 of the most experienced, top-notch drivers in Supercars, are making moves for their team early. Whincup 2nd. Tander is 4th. Jack Perkins, though, has got a little break because that move that Whincup put onto David Russell slowed them down a little bit, so it's let Jack off the hook. They're over at turn 9, Dandenong Road corner, where there's a big sand trap on the exit, ready and waiting to catch anybody who mucks that one up. But Perkins has a nice little buffer here, 0.8 of a second. They're at the final turn, onto the pit straight, the end of lap 3, and we've got a rhythm now. We're starting to settle who's moving. Whincup's up 3, Tander's up 4, Michael Caruso's up 4, Jalen Robotham driving in Cam Hill's car. He's up 2 positions, but there's been plenty of movement the other way as well. Further back in the pack, you've got, Fabian Coulthard's 21st. Not a bad start from 26th.
Moves the truck assist Camaro there on Dale Wood. Down in there, and that was Ojeda in the 34. And now some dust going up here between turns 2 and 3. Blanchard on the Penrite car. Not much room given there, and it's only lap number 4. So yes, they've settled into the rhythm, but they know they need to go forward as quick as they can here.
That's an interesting one. The fight we're talking about is 7th and 8th. Kevin Estra, the French Porsche factory driver, on Supercars debut. He doesn't normally drive against any of these guys. They don't know him. He doesn't know them. It's all new in this new world. The Sandown 500, we're off and rolling. We're on lap 4 of 161 on SEN. Great to have you with us for Supercars on your Sunday afternoon in Melbourne, and Jack Perkins is leading, but Jamie Whincup is going to work, starting to pull back the margin as this fight continues. Lap 4 of 161. We're picking up a replay of the start, and that was really where the Coke cars bottled the inside at the front. Whincup made some ground. Tander made some ground as well. It was unbelievably close. As now we have a change for the lead in the motor race. Whincup down the inside at turn 1. He goes by Jack Perkins. So Jamie Whincup in that 88 Camaro, sharing with Brock Feeney. That car was fast right throughout the course of practice on Friday, Saturday. Qualifying, where it started, probably wasn't a fair representation of the speed of that car. And now that fight continues as the chase for Whincup now has to go on because he's pulling a margin on Jack Perkins down the end of the back straight.
And this was the move we just saw a moment ago on Whincup going for the lead here. So he's gone into it and instantly has half a second. Just look at some of the replays of some of the passing. We know what happens here, don't we, Noonan? So usually breed more replays than we go through a sequence. So getting the job done on David Russell a lap or so ago, and then down the short chute in between the turn 2 and 3 section. It's the old pit straight, the old pit lane from back in the day here at Sandown. So we got past Russell on turn 3, went after Jack Perkins, but ultimately get the job done here on the son of a legend. Just a lap later down at turn number 1, pulled out. Classic move here at Sandown. Whincup makes the move with a left-hander into turn 1.
So now my head is turning to the thought here of who does what in terms of pits. And you might think, hang on a minute, it's only lap 6, it's really early. There is no compulsory pit stops like there used to be. Teams can do whatever they want, whenever they want, to get the best result for themselves. You want to come in now and top up your fuel or start low or pit 5 times, 3 times, 4 times, 86 times, whatever you want to do to try to win the race. That is what is the aim of the game. And I like that because we tend to be in such a controlled category where everything's the same and it's got to be done here, it's got to be done there. Opening up the possibility window is definitely something great. We're on lap 6 of the Sandown 500 here on SEN. Jamie Whincup's your leader. Jack Perkins sits second. David Russell is next. Then it's Garth Tander, James Moffat, Alex Davison, Kevin Estray, Tim Blanchard, Michael Caruso up 4 spots, and Jalen Rowbotham rounds out the top 10. The cars are across the line on the Brock Straight. We'll take a break on SEN Supercars. Jamie Whincup leads the way on lap 7 in Melbourne. It's SEN Supercars. The Sandown 500 in Melbourne continues. Supercars for tyre power. Pole position for value on Toyo tyres today. And right now, Jamie Whincup is the man who leads the way. We are on lap 11 of 161. Jack Perkins, who started from pole, is sitting second. David Russell in the second of the Erebus Coca-Cola Camaro sits in third. Garth Tander is fourth. James Moffat in the Cam Waters Tickford Mustangs next. Alex Davison sixth. Kevin Estray, Tim Blanchard, Michael Caruso and Jalen Rowbotham round out the 10 runners that sit in the top 10 at the moment. Outside the 10, Jonathan Webb 11th, Jaden Ojeda next, then Gary Jacobson, Dale Wood and Lee Holdsworth. So lots of co-drivers in the mix here, Matt Naulty. But this Richie Stanaway, Shane Van Gisbergen car that started 19th is sitting 16th. It hasn't made much headway in the first part of this race.
He made those 3 up really in that first lap, but it's been sort of stopped now in the process. Some of the big movers, including Fabian Coulthard, who's teaming up with Nick Percat. He's made up 6 positions so far from 26th on the grid. Zach Best had a spin while we were away there in the Snowy River Caravans car. We thought James Courtney was starting in that, but Zach Best, the Benalla driver who's racing in Super 2, has dropped himself down to 27th. He had a moment during the race as well because he was around that region with Aaron Love in the initial stages of the race. So the Snowy River Caravans team back there in 27th place here on lap 12.
And we're hearing that no damage reported from Zach Best in that number 5 Tickford car. We're on lap 12 of 161. The leaders working their way down the long back straight here at Sandown. 3.1 kilometres is this circuit. It's exactly half the distance of Bathurst. So it's 3.1 kilometres. Bathurst is 6.2. This is 500 kilometres. Bathurst is 1,000. That means it's 161 laps for both of the races. We have a time certain finish of 5:43 local time plus 1 lap. We started this race 15 minutes later than scheduled. Some barrier repairs due to a crash in the Super 2 support race prior to the main Sandown 500 meant a bit of a delay while that was put back into place. But we're off and rolling now. It's Camaros 1, 2 and 3, Mustangs 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8, Camaros 9, 10, 11 and 12. We're picking up a shot on our screens of a well, that is actually one of the... They've obliterated the cones that sit on the inside of turn 6 at the end of the back straight. Now, there's a major factor there. I was talking to Craig Baird, the driver at Standard's advisor earlier in the weekend. Of course, the line is what dictates what's in or out for the cars in terms of whether they're off the road or on the road. But when those curbs get smashed and those cones get destroyed from behind the curb, there's nasty bolts underneath that normally keep those cones affixed. So you don't want to get too hungry there and cut the inside corner, because that's just waiting for some left side tyres to get flattened.
And not just that, it's a drop-off behind that curb as well. So you don't want to do tyre damage either to the bolts or to the inside of the curb there. So 2 have been knocked down that we can see from just a moment ago. In fact, one's laying on its side pretty much down at turn number 8 as Stanaway arrives with a full head of steam here at turn number 9, Dandenong Road corner. And under the famous Penrite Bridge to complete another lap. Wincup's margin 1.0 seconds now back to Perkins, Russell, Tander, Moffat. Alex Davison back to 6th position now. Got to say, Kevin Estre's drive so far with a steam company around to be staying in 7th position. That's solid.
It's really solid, because the great thing is here, they've brought in the Grove Racing team, a guy who is a Porsche factory driver. He drives the hypercar in the World Endurance Championship for the factory Porsche team that is run by Roger Penske. Of course, Penske, a partner with Dick Johnson for many years in DJR Team Penske, as it was there. But the Groves, who race Porsches in GT racing internationally, I do like that they like to mix it up and they like to delve into the international talent pool. We don't get much of that in supercars these days. There's 54 drivers in the field this weekend. There's 47 Australians. There's 6 Kiwis. And there's 1 Frenchman, Kevin Estre. He is the only European driver in the field this week. And although there are some drivers who ply their trade, like Jackson Evans, the Kiwi who's co-driving with Jack Smith. He runs in 18th at the moment. He races for Porsche in various championships around Europe and North America. So a lot of international racing going on from people from this part of the world.
And likewise, the same, like Zane Goddard, for example, who spent time over in Europe. Tom Randall's had years of experience in open wheel competition over in Europe, particularly in England. So riding with Jackson Evans here. Jack Smith, of course, the primary driver in that car.
Lap 15 and Wincup's building, Matt. 1 minute 10.45. That is our Makita hot lap for Makita XGT, experienced professional cordless power without limits. And Jamie Whincup, no limits at the moment. 1:10.4538. Fastest lap of the race back on lap 4. We're currently working lap 15 here at Sandown. And that is a couple of tenths faster than Jack Perkins has mustered in car number 9 that sits in second.
So the 34 of Ojeda going down the inside of Jonathan Webb, who's back in the sport. And at Newlon Racing, that's Premier's team, headed by Peter Shiveris, 2-car outfit this year. Took over from what effectively was Team Sydney, Techno before, prior to that, and Jono Webb back behind the wheel in the season of endurance that is the Penrite Oil Sandown 500. 16 laps into this race, and we've just gone over 17 and a half minutes of racing. It's a fast pace out there today. Everybody in the top 10 in the 1 minute 10 range. Fastest lap, 1 minute 10.45 on lap 4 for Jamie Whincup.
And talking to a lot of the drivers about these new Generation 3 Camaros and Mustangs, the Dunlop tyre is the big issue here, because talking to James Moffat, SEN's own James Moffat earlier today, he said, you know what, just when you think, well, I'm not sure how far I could go with this tyre, it holds pretty well, but when it goes in terms of its grip and its drop off, boom, it's off the cliff. And suddenly you've gone from starting to think that you're just going to edge a little bit longer with the grip, and then it disappears and you've really got a fight on your hands. And that's the thing. The main game full-time drivers know that. They've been driving these cars for 22 championship races, practice and qualifying, test days, warm-up sessions, all sorts of stuff. Co-drivers, they've had barely any time in these cars in comparison. They are in uncharted waters so far in the Sandown 500. It's settled down a little bit now. Lap 16 of 161, no change up front. Jamie Whincup leads 1.2 seconds back to Jack Perkins. No surprise here. The teams that are fighting for the championship, that have won I was going to say the lion's share of the races. If they were holding teams, that would be appropriate. But the bow tie share of races, the Camaros, they're out in front. It's Red Bull 888 leading. It's the Coca-Cola Erebus team, 2 and 3. Grove Racing with Garth Tander in 4th. And that's a damn good lineup. Garth Tander, 5-time Bathurst 1000 winner, Supercar champ of 2007, teaming up with David Reynolds, Bathurst 1000 winner in 2017. That's a really handy lineup. They're the best of the Fords at the moment. The leaders are on their way down the back straight here at Sandown. Jamie Whincup braking for the left-hander. Turn 6 over the rise at the end of the back straight and dropping through that right-left Esses sequence to Dandenong Road, the road that runs adjacent to the racetrack at this famous venue that the fans have flocked in today. It has been a big weekend at Sandown at the moment. Probably the fight on the track at the moment, Matt's for 6th place. Alex Davison and Kevin Estray, 6th and 7th. They've got a bit of a margin ahead to James Moffat, a bit of a margin behind to Tim Blanchard, who's got a bit of a freight train behind him. He sits in 8th at the moment, but it's Whincup who leads, 1 second clear. And I reckon Whincup, if he wanted to, could push away further. But there's no point blowing the tyres off that car now, as Estray's making a move to pass Alex Davison down at turn 1. The Frenchman goes by and collects position 6. So the Shell V-Power Mustang of the Davison brothers started 4th. It's back to 7th, but Alex is fighting back. He's up the inside at turn 4 onto the back straight. He didn't fully go all the way on with it, avoided contact, but now they've almost dropped themselves back to the next pack that's being led by Tim Blanchard in the number 3 Mustang for Cool Drive. This is lap 18 of the Sandown 500. The Supercars on SEN for Tyre Power, your trusted local, and it's Jamie Whincup who leads the way. Jack Perkins sits 2nd, David Russell sits 3rd. We still have all 27 cars that started the race still running the race. It is one heck of a day here at Sandown. We'll take a break on SEN. It's Jamie Whincup out in front. It's SEN Supercars, the Sandown 500 for Tyre Power. Pole position for value on Toyo tyres. And you come back to us at an interesting time because we have deployed the BP Ultimate safety car, and it's Garth Tander who is out of the race. The Penrite Mustang has lost control over the back of turn 6 on the run through the S's, Matt Naulty. Left rear wheel gone off the car. Garth out of control, barreling into the fence, and ends up with 3 wheels on the wagon in the sand at turn 9. He and David Reynolds are out of this race.
2 360s into the fence at high speed down there at 9, but there was worse to come behind as well because the rear wing has come off the Monster Mustang in the same process. We haven't seen the replay, but I can only assume that that wheel must have got that rear wing because the Monster car was so far back and that wheel was dancing down the track.
James Moffat's at the wheel of the Monster car. He's still driving, he's still on the road, but he's got a mechanical black flag and he must pit. So while we were in the break, that all unfolded. The safety car was deployed. A bunch of cars in the mid part of the pack were able to come in. The leaders came on in next time around, and it meant what we talked about earlier. The Coke cars were together, so David Russell was forced to wait behind his teammate car. He's dropped back to 11th from 3rd in the race, but also Jack Perkins got out in front of Jamie Whincup. Yes. So right now, under the safety car, we're on lap 22 of 161. Jack Perkins is the leader. The pole position car is back to the front. Jamie Whincup 2nd. Moffat is 3rd in the race, but he has no rear wing. He has been given a mechanical black flag. He has to come in and respond to that. They cannot and will not let that car continue in this race without that rear wing being reattached, if they can.
So the first big crack in the Sandown 500 has happened. It happened on lap 19. So Garth Tander and David Reynolds out of the race. They're retrieving that car down at Dandenong Road corner. One of the big winners to come out of the pit stop cycle was Caruso in the DeWalt Chevy Camaro. They've made up 3 positions in that process. So we're looking at what happened.
So Tander turns the car in. The wheel comes off at turn 6. It's bouncing down the road behind him as he's spinning out of control to the outside of the circuit. He makes front contact with the fence, rear contact, and we just don't know but I can only presume that the wheel that's bounced off Tander's car has collected James Moffat. The wheel disappeared from our view and went to the inside of the circuit. I can only presume it's hit the rear wing of James Moffat's number 6 Tickford car and knocked it clean off, which is quite unbelievable. I mean, a tyre and wheel assembly is pretty heavy. Tickford are standing by to receive the car. They are going to put another rear wing onto the number 6 car, so it pulls them out of third. If anything, I would have thought they should have been in already, yes, to take advantage of the fact that the safety car's keeping the field running slowly, which means you lose less time. Now he's in the lane and they'll service this car. So Jack Perkins is the leader. We're on lap 23. Jamie Whincup second. Michael Caruso in Mark Winterbottom's car. Where did they start, Matthew? They were a fair way back in the lineup earlier on. So they took advantage of pitting early to be able to pop out in front. Kevin Estray's fourth, Tim Blanchard, Alex Davison. Gary Jacobson's a big winner too in the Thomas Randall Castrol car. He pitted straight away at the beginning of that safety car. He's in seventh. Jordan Boyes driving Macaulay Jones's car is next. Tyler Everingham's ninth, who's co-driving for Declan Fraser. And we've also got Lee Holdsworth now. He's in pit lane and there's attention to the left rear of the Mustang that he's driving with Lee Holdsworth and Chaz Mostert. That's the 25 Walkinshaw Andretti United car. They're putting this rear wing now onto James Moffat's car in the pit lane. They're still on the lead lap. The safety car train of cars is running really slowly. So our BP Ultimate Safety car is controlling the field and giving Tickford a chance to change this rear wing and get this car back out onto the lead lap and keep Cam Waters, the 2017 Sandown 500 winner, and James Moffat in this race. If they drop off the lead lap, they're toast.
They're done. Also under investigation was an unsafe release for Tony D'Alberto, car number 11, the Shell V-Power team. Having to flashbacks here too, Noons, to 2003, where we're watching the rear wing being changed. Greg Murphy, the Kmart car.
Yeah, I remember it well. Yeah, that was a scenario back then when they're about to send the car and the rear wing was falling off out of the pits. We're seeing some vision here that Supercars have got their officials down there with Adrian Burgess, the head of motorsport. They will not let that car go back onto the track unless they are completely happy that that rear wing is fine. There's work going on. They're trying to hack away the diffuser section at the rear of the bumper of the number 25 Lee Holdsworth Chaz Mostert car. So there's drama here at Sandown. We're only on lap 23 of 161. We've gone 31 minutes of racing and already drama with two of the top running Fords and two of the top running drivers in the championship. Remember that Mostert coming in this weekend 5th in the points and Cam Waters 6th. They are 1-2 of the Ford Mustangs so far this season. This is a race where you don't want to drop a whole pile of points because it will instantly drop down, and they've released James Moffat back onto the track, and I think he's made it out here before the safety cars come back around. He's on the lead lap. That's impressive.
Yeah, just in front of the safety car as well.
I hope that rear wing is nice and flat. They've got Garth Danner's car, by the way, onto the tilt tray truck. It's over at turn 6 with that left rear tyre missing and wheel assembly. It's not looking very good. So the pair of Bathurst winners, David Reynolds and Garth Tander, are out, if you've just joined us, of the Sandown 500 in Melbourne.
Not completely sold that the Holdsworth Mostert car has been cured either. It looked like that rear diffuser was still scratching on the track as it made its way through turn 1. So the first one drops here on lap 24 of 161. Safety car is out. And there's a lot going on behind the scenes during that incident down there at turn number 9 for Garth Tander and David Reynolds. Looks like Holdsworth went across between turn 2 and 3. Might have been enough to rip the diffuser out there. Saw a quick glimpse of then. That car's back out on the track. Now, what if they just got him out there to get back around, to bring him back in the pits to keep him on the lead lap?
Yeah, buys you more time.
Yep.
If you get him out there, keep him on the train, the crocodile chain of cars.
There he is.
Come back around and have another crack at. You can hear them going to work on that with the tools, trying to hacksaw their way off the back with this rear bumper section. They're just trying to cut it off, which is proving a bit more difficult than it would otherwise normally be. This is not what they do at your Repco Authorised Service Centre. They look after it. Our pit lane partner, they do a much kinder job of your car than what is going on. Right now, it's all about getting in the race. Moffat's back in. They're adjusting the rear wing again on the monster car. So if you've just joined us, It's lap 24 at Sandown. We've got a couple of our top Mustang runners in pit lane with various body damage. We've lost 1-4. David Reynolds and Garth Tander are out of the Sandown 500. So 1 down, 26 cars left in the race, 24 of them on the track, 2 in the pits at the moment. They've pulled this whole rear section of underneath the rear bumper of the Lee Holdsworth Chaz Mostert car off to get him back in the race. The Garth Tander car's been brought back to the pit lane. It's on a tilt tray truck. It's just gone now to the back of the pit lane here at Sandown as the leaders come around. Those 2 in the lane have got out in front of our BP Ultimate safety car, only just for Lee Holdsworth, but he stays on the lead lap as the chain of cars come on down the pit straight. Jack Perkins is our leader. Jamie Whincup is second. And I'm really interested here, Matt, when this race restarts, will we see Whincup launch the move straight away? Will he put the pressure on Jack Perkins and make it as early? I mean, he led Jack the first 4 laps, and then Jamie went on by, pulled a little margin and sat on it for a while. Do we think he'll do that again?
That's the question, isn't it? As the Moffat Waters car makes its way back to join the train of cars. And we predicted there'd be some sort of drama in the first half of the race here at least. And it's just such an unknown going in with these new Gen 3 cars for 2023. And that drama is still for the 25 car, taking that rear diffuser out. This is the track that you need as much assistance and no airflow disturbance.
Oh, it'll be disturbed now.
Oh, it's massively disturbed.
It'll be really disturbed. It is not how it was designed by the Ford Performance engineers for this Mustang supercar program. But the safety car is continuing to lead the way. The question today is how many laps does it end up leading? So far, Jack Perkins led from lap 1 to 4. Jamie Whincup got by and led from lap 5 to 19, which is when the safety car came on out. There was 1 lap there under the safety car jumble that Dylan O'Keefe, driving the James Golding car, led. That was lap 20. And while we've been under the safety car, Jack Perkins has been our leader and remains so as the cars are slowly working their way down the back straight under the control of our BP Ultimate safety car. And judging by the speed that they're turning over the top of turn 6 on the run down through the S's to Dandenong Road corner, we won't be too far away from a restart in the Sandown 500. Supercars on SEN today with thanks to Tyre Power, your trusted local, as we are set to get a restart here at Sandown. Jack Perkins will be the lead car back to the control line. This is the end of lap 25. We are going to get a restart. He's at the final turn, and Jack Perkins will lead us back to the line as the Sandown 500 comes back to life. The green flags are flying. And the 3rd generation racer, Jack Perkins, leads the way down the Brock Straight on the run to turn 1. Jamie Whincup is the best of the rest, not far away. Michael Caruso, what a jump for he and Mark Winterbottom. They're in the game in the Team 18 Camaro for DeWalt Power Tools. Kevin Estre next, the Frenchman. The Grove Penrite team have been chopped in half. They're 1 car down. They have 1 left in the game with the Kiwi rookie and the Frenchman as they run on down the back straight. We're off and rolling again, single file, building rhythm, and we're hearing too 5-second penalty for car number 11, Tony Delberto, for an unsafe release. He's in 13th. He's up 7 spots from where he started, and that penalty will have to be taken at the next pit stop.
So lap 26 of the Sandown 500 as the cars make their way out of turn 9, Dandenong Road corner to complete this lap. Perkins from Whincup, Caruso, Estre, Blanchard and Davison in that top 6. Gary Jacobson has come back up into 7th after that pit stop cycle. And one of the big movers in this one is the Pizza Hut car with Jordan Boys behind the wheel up 16 positions. They've also pitted, so they're inside that top 10, but a long way to play out.
A little more on the Delberto penalty. That car was released into the path of Lee Holdsworth after his first pit stop, so that's why he's been pinged there. Jordan Boys has run wide down at turn 1 in the Brad Jones Racing Pizza Hut Camaro, car 96 at the tail of the top 10. That will drop him a little bit of time. It's pretty willing in the mid-pack here. There's a few fights going on, and now the fight back is on for David Russell, driving the championship leading number 99 Camaro. He's just rounded up Jordan Boys. That gets him up to position number 9, and he is back in the pack because both the Coke cars pitted under that safety car period, which meant that the second of them, driven by David Russell, the car that is going to be Brody Kostecki's car later on when he steps in, he had to stop. He had to wait for the sister car and lost some time. Now it's Jordan Boyce going further back in the pack. He's lost the spot to Jonathan Webb. Dale Wood is also by, and now Tony D'Alberto picks up a spot. They're at the final couple of corners, the little left-right sequence that brings them back onto this long front straight at Sandown in front of a full grandstand who are loving their racing. And as we say this, Jordan Boyce peels off to our Repco authorised service pit lane to take service, and he's going to get out of there right now and get out of this pack of cars. So as it sits, lap 28, Jack Perkins leads. 7/10 is the second, is the margin, I should say, to Jamie Whincup. 3/10 back to Michael Caruso. Another 4/10 back to Kevin Estray. And there is one heck of a pack. They are fighting, Matthew, for 10th, 11th, 12th. Actually, you know what? I won't read all the positions.
Back to tail?
They are nose to tail on the back straight. Jonathan Webb 10th, all the way back to Fabian Coulthard, who's 21st. I kid you not. They are nose to tail. It's a Congo line down the back straight of multicolours.
And Webb was the big winner there because I think they radioed to the R&J Batteries car to go past the 96, which incidentally has come into the pits, didn't take on a set of tyres. It took fuel only. I would have thought they would change those tyres over after that big lockup going into turn number 1 on the previous lap. But you're right, this goes back at least 11 cars as they come around through the final set of turns here. Webb made up 2 positions and starting to clear away from the the Dale Wood car behind him in the R&J Batteries entry.
So the cars are working their way. Our leaders are on the exit of turn 1. The right-hander is next. Turn 2, little chicane, right, left, over the curbs. That's one of the question marks about these cars. These new supercars have not gone 500 kilometres of racing with curbs, with bumping other drivers, with pit stop issues. It's really willing in the mid-pack here. You know that fight we talked about, that Congo line? It's still going. In fact, it's growing. There's more of them lining up at the back because Moffat's on it, Zach Best is on it. They are lined up. Seriously, there's 14 cars nose to tail down the back straight at Sandown. This is absurd.
Through
Wild
6.
stuff. Wild stuff.
Have you think about what happened with Tander's car there, and when those cones were peeled away, do you think he got enough off the track there? Because that's a sawtooth curve around that region. Was it enough maybe for it to grab and tear that wheel away?
If it was, I'd be highly worried that a bump like that could do that. Under investigation is car 14, Dean Fiore, sharing the Bryce Spillwood Middies Camaro. There's an investigation for a possible pit lane infringement. That car at the moment is sitting in 18th place on the racetrack. We are now on lap number 30. No change at the front. Jack Perkins leads 9/10 of a second back to Jamie Whincup. It's Whincup from lap 4 earlier in the day, a 1:10.45. That is our Makita hot lap so far for Makita XGT power without limits. And that is a serious time, 1:10.45. They haven't really been able to get back near that as they pick themselves up since our last safety car period, which, by the way, it went out on lap 20. It came in at the end of lap 25, and we are now on lap 30 of 161.
And still that freight train of cars continues to grow. Coulthard at the tail of that group of cars. In fact, both Walkinshaw and Andretti United cars back in 21st and 22nd as they're on their way down to turn number 9, Dandenong Road corner. Aaron Love just ahead. With Jake Kostecki now behind the wheel of car number 7. Aaron Love started the car here today.
5-second penalty is going to be awarded to Dean Fiore for that pit infringement. We're still not hearing exactly what he did, but it's been deemed that 5 seconds. So that will be added when that car next pits. So they can do their service, whatever they're going to do, fuel, tyres, driver change, and then they've got to sit for another 5 seconds before they can be released.
Which I think is a good way of penalising these days, rather than making the cars do a pit lane penalty.
Oh, it used to be nuts. It used to take people out of car races for doing, okay, it's an infringement, but it's not the world's worst motor racing crime.
No.
So it keeps the cars in the race. Yes, it's a penalty. It's 5 seconds. It's pretty hard to get that back on the track. But it is a case now of seeing what you can do. You're still in the race. You can still fight and claw that one back over the course of the remaining amount of the race. We're on lap 31 of 161 laps. It's Jack Perkins who remains out in front. Of course, Jack Perkins, son of Larry, 3-time winner of the Sandown 500. Last won it in 1998 on a very wet, miserable day here with Russell Ingall. Conditions are completely the opposite today. It is pure, beautiful Melbourne. I know you're listening thinking, surely you're talking that up, but it's true. The weather update for Kubota on the Kubota cast, together shaping and building Australia. It's 22 degrees here. It's perfect racing conditions. Although if you're in a hot supercar right now, you're probably not agreeing because it's sweaty stuff.
And there's thousands of people here today, and they've been streaming in since gates opened at 7 o'clock this morning. In fact, it was nice to have a traffic jam to come into a racetrack on race day. We haven't seen that for quite a while.
Your VIP parking pass got you past all of that.
It didn't work this morning.
Oh, it didn't work.
Sadly, it may be a little bit late, but we love having crowds here, and it's one of the best tracks to watch motor racing. Sandown Raceway. We've been doing it for 49 years, and it's been home to so many cool events. Dating back to the 60s, we've had the World Sports Car Championship that raced back in the 80s as well, and some of the world's greats have raced here.
Yeah, we've had superstars of all sorts. And as you mentioned, 2 times the World Sports Car Championship was here. The great Juan Manuel Fangio was here for the Australian Grand Prix. Before the days of Formula One and World Championship racing, the Grand Prix was held at different tracks around the country, and here at Sandown in 1978, would you believe it, the touring car Enduro that we now know as the 500 was the support race to the Australian Grand Prix. A bit of fight here. Second and third's on the line. Jamie Whincup has it. Michael Caruso wouldn't mind it, and Kevin Estre's right with them as well. So second, third and fourth, they're in a battle pack on the run up to the little short straight that leads to turn 4 that turns them onto the long back straight. There is a little kink that is turn 5, but it's flat out all the way down the back straight. And then you just crest the rise, gently rising down this back straight to the point where you can't quite see where you're turning to unless you're just about there, because that's when the corner appears. And then up and over the S's, down the hill, hard left-handers at turn 9, and then a little run up to the right left that brings them back onto the pit straight. But so far, very impressive performance from Jack Perkins. This is why he puts together a program with sponsors, with backers, to run in the Super 2 Series. Right now is the proof in the pudding. Keep yourself sharp. Keep yourself in the game. Supercars have very limited test days. It's not like footy where you can go run out and have a kick any day of the week. It's tightly controlled, it's tightly reined, so any other racing and laps you can get in any other cars, any other categories, it's all for this. It's all to make sure that when you're in that car, in car number 9, as Jack is right now, when you're in the lead of the Sandown 500, that you are as prepared as you can be, mentally, physically, in the car, and that's what he's done. For Jack Perkins this year, speaking to him in the lead up to these Enduros, he desperately wants to win that Bathurst 1000. He'd love to win a Sandown 500. But for many years, he's been focused on the result and not enjoying the process. This year, he's putting more work into the process, because if you get that bit right, you know what happens? The result comes. So he's focusing the energy a little bit differently these days. He's a dad of 2. He's been around the block, Jack Perkins. He's not the young whippersnapper that he once was. He's got lots of experience, and he's down at turn number 11 and 12, leading them onto the pit straight. He's leading the way in the Sandown 500. This is the end of lap 34 in the car that has led more of the laps so far today, that started from pole position, than anybody else. He has 1 second on Jamie Whincup, who's sharing with young Brock Feeney, the guy who replaced him full-time in Supercars last year. But Kevin Estre, the Frenchman, sitting 4th, he's there with the leaders. He's fighting for Ford. And the funny thing is, he's a Porsche factory driver. Yeah. He's in a different brand of car this weekend.
And he's taken to this track like a duck to water, hasn't he, with some esteemed company like we mentioned at the start of the coverage today on SEN. Perkins out to nearly 1.5 seconds now with Whincup and Caruso. Someone else that snuck into that top 10, Noons as well. Tyler Everingham behind the wheel of car 56, the tradie entry that Declan Fraser would normally drive. They're up 9 positions after that pit stop cycle in 8th position. David Russell has come back up into 9th position as well, and Jono Webb completes that top 10 as for the first time this weekend we have a little bit of cloud hanging around Sandown.
Don't start. Don't start. We've been talking about the weather all day. It's been fantastic.
I'll let myself out.
Bad sportsmanship flag, by the way, for car number 9, for Jack Perkins, for exceeding the track limits. That's a warning. That's a bit of a slap to the wrist. Just a reminder not to go too wide, not to use more of the road than is available. 36 laps down. Jack Perkins is still the leader here at Sandown. It's SEN Supercars for tyre power. Your trusted local will take a break. It's Camaros 1, 2 and 3, but the Fords sit 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Sandown 500, we are on lap 40 now. We have hit 1/4 race distance. It's SEN Supercars for tyre power, your trusted local, and no change. If you're a Jack Perkins and Erebus fan, good news. He's still out in front. He's 3/4 of a second clear of Jamie Whincup, who sits second. Man on the move, Kevin Estre, Matt Naulty. He's now third in the Penrite Grove Mustang. If you're just joining us, the other car with Garth Tander and David Reynolds, Tander at the wheel, is out of the race. It lost a wheel earlier on and crashed at turn 6. Garth is fine. He stepped out of the car. No problem, but they are done for today. So it is, for Reem, Australia's favourite hot water. Who's running hot in this race? I'm throwing it to you. Who's running hot right now as we sit on lap 40?
For me, Kevin Estre, for sure. Just the way he's adapted. We know he's a pro. He's done a lot of overseas racing, but for sure, he's your man. It's running hot right now. And talking about running hot, it's on for the lead here, Noons, at the last turn, because Whincup is right on the grill of the Coca-Cola Chevy Camaro at the end of lap number 40.
So the pressure's coming. The 7-time Supercars champ is zeroing in on Jack Perkins. They're on the Brock Straight, the front straight here at Sandown. Whincup to the inside, change for the lead. He's done this before today. He's done it for the second time now. So Jamie Whincup moves through to the lead in the Red Bull Ampol number 88 Camaro for 888. Jack Perkins back to second place. We're on lap 41. It's now Whincup from Perkins. Estre is third. Michael Caruso fourth. Tim Blanchard in the Cool Drive Mustang is next. Alex Davison for Shell V-Power and Dick Johnson Racing in sixth. Gary Jacobson in the Tickford Castrol Mustang seventh. Tyler Everingham in another of the Tickford cars, the tradie car, is eighth. David Russell hasn't made any more moves, Matt. He's still ninth in Brody Kostecki's Coke Camaro. Jonathan Webb sits 10th. Tony D'Alberto's 11th, but has a 5-second penalty at the next pit stop for an unsafe release from his previous pit stop. So he'll have to serve that next time that car heads to pit lane. Lap 41, 1:21 left to complete. We've been racing for just over 55.5 minutes here at Sandown in Melbourne.
And to know that too for the Middies racing car with Dean Fiore at the wheel at the moment. Bryce Forward, the regular driver in that car, they'll also have 5 seconds at their next pit stop. Everybody's pitted once. We've had a couple of cars come in and make a second stop. The 96 Pizza Hut and Chevy Camaro, Macaulay Jones and Dean Fiore came in for fuel about 10 laps ago, but didn't change those tyres. I'm going to keep that one in the back of the mind for later in the race, because they'd made up a heap of positions after that first round of pit stops. But they now find himself down the field, a long way down the field in 26th position, as Whincup gets out to 0.6 of a second on Jack Perkins. And I think Perkins played that same game before as Whincup, not trying to steer away from that field, just ran to a number. Then Whincup decided, hey, it's time to go back to the lead.
The key here is that they need to make sure that they don't burn tyres, because this will be the element that goes first. The tanks in these cars for fuel are 133 litres. That's a good chunk more than the previous car used to have. So on fuel, they can run longer than the old generation of cars. But on tyres, the tyres won't go as far as the fuel will take you. They will not survive, particularly with today's weather. I mean, for Kubota Cast Shaping and Building Australia on our weather update, I mean, it's low 20s ambient, but on track it's in the 40s. So these Dunlop tyres are cooking pretty hard, and that's not the sort of weather you would normally expect. If we were in January looking at the calendar and thinking, what's the weather going to be like at Sandown in September? If you'd said sunny and fine, lovely for 3 days in a row, we would have all put you in a straitjacket and put you in a corner of the room, because there's no way that this would ever happen. But it has happened, and they've got to deal with it now for 500 Ks.
But looking at our commentary box window, it's just starting to cloud up a bit. It's a bit of action going on further down the field here with Lowndes.
Lowndes contact on the back straight.
And that's,
wild.
That was with Robotham, and now they're queuing up. The SET logistics car is in there too. So contact, and lucky not to end up in the fence.
Craig Lowndes just got away with what would have been a big crash on the back straight at the kink. He and Rowbotham touched, and it turned his car, the 888 car, sideways, and Lowndes saved the day. He sits in 13th place at the moment. This guy, he's the oldest man in the field. He's 49 and 88 days today. He had the longest autograph lines for the last few days. There's so much love to see Craig Lowndes back in a supercar from 23rd on the grid. He's 13th. He has still got it. He is still the man with the fans. He has still got it when it's on the track. 6 times a winner of the Sandown 500. And given we had a few years of the 500 being at Phillip Island, we had a few years at Queensland Raceway, of which he won one of those along the way, can't help but feel, I mean, he's won the 500 9 times across its different tracks that it's been at over the years. That ties Peter Brock, who won here 9 times in, well, it was the Hang 10 400, it was the 500 for a few years. It was a bit of everything in that time. But he's got an amazing history here, and it almost was the next chapter in the fence, but he got away with it at the moment. He's over the top of the hill at Dandenong Road. He's under pressure here from his sister car, Richie Stanaway, the Red Bull 97 of Shane Van Gisbergen, who, by the way, earlier today, I mean, we've commented on SEN this year about how out of tune he's been with supercars this year. Greg Murphy, his countryman, gave him a pretty decent serve today on national TV and in commentary. Really unimpressed with Shane's approach to racing at the moment in his final quarter of his last season for the moment in supercars.
Yeah, he was pretty scathing with some words earlier today before the start of the race as well. And I mean, whether you like Van Gisbergen or not, he's a hell of a driver, but some of the off-track stuff hasn't been in the flavour, in the spirit of how we'd go motor racing here in this country. I just had to hold back there for a look at that. That was such a big moment.
We were getting a replay in our feed of Lowndes and Rowbotham, who were side by side on the exit onto the back straight. Rowbotham to the right up against the fence. Craig in the middle of the road, and Craig just had to move across a bit. There was a rub there, and to Rowbotham's credit, he lifted off the throttle. He could have stayed absolutely full throttle there and absolutely sent Craig Lowndes, who speared sideways, caught it, and drove off down the road. Speaking of down the road, Whincup leads 0.6 of a second now, the margin. Back to Jack Perkins, who's got, 1.5 seconds back to Kevin Estray, who in turn has 3 seconds back to Michael Caruso. We're on lap 46 of 161. It's SEN Supercars today for tyre power. Pole position for value on Toyo tyres. And our leaders are working their way around the first half of this Sandown circuit. Lap 46. And we've just got a bit of rhythm. And just when I say that, though, that it's calmed down and everyone's just got themselves in a bit of a flow and just finding a bit of groove, all hell breaks loose. Pit lane is busy for our Repco authorised service pit lane. That in the lane at the moment has been Jaden Ojeda in car 34, the Jack LeBrock car. It looks like it's had a war wound as well. Spinner at turn 1, it's James Moffat. Today, it's been bad, it's got worse. He's had a spin on the exit of turn 1. He's righted the ship and got it going again. They changed the rear wing on this car early after it was hit by, and we've had it confirmed, it was hit by the errant wheel that bounced off Garth Tander's car. Moff resumes, he's 24th. Importantly, though, he's still on the lead lap of the race, and he spun because he was touched into a spin in contact down at turn 1 with Dylan O'Keefe, who was down the inside trying to put a move on. There was contact. Moffat went around, faced the wrong way, and managed to flick that car back around. So Cam Waters in the pit lane. Unimpressed is the word that springs to mind about his day so far in Melbourne.
And Zach Best was also lucky not to get caught up in that incident. Remember, he'd spun in that same region earlier today. Meantime, the Davison car is working their way up to turn number 3, and Russell right on the back. Remember, he made up several positions on the restart, but sort of stopped. But now he's finding some pace in that Chevy Camaro as he works the back of the Shell V-Power Mustang down the back straight in the battle for 6th and 7th on lap 47.
Davison sitting inside of the road. Russell goes back to the outside just to get a gulp of clean air into the front of the Camaro. Remember, David Russell, the Queenslander, co-driver for the championship leader Brodie Kostecki in car 99. He's got a bit of a run here on Davison on the exit of Dandenong Road. He'll do this pretty easy. He pulls around the outside. He's in front before the braking zone for turn 11. So through goes David Russell. That's position number 6 now for him. Whincup leads by 0.6 of a second. We're now on lap 48 at Sandown. It's SEN Supercars for tyre power, your trusted local. We've gone past the quarter race distance under investigations, that contact between James Moffat and Dylan O'Keefe at turn 1. But your leaderboard on lap 48, it's Jamie Whincup in front by 0.3 of a second to Jack Perkins. The rest of your top 10 is Kevin Estray, Michael Caruso, Tim Blanchard, David Russell, Alex Davison, Gary Jacobson, who has just put a move on Davison to grab that spot. He moves up to 7th. Davison back to 8th. Tyler Everingham and Jonathan Webb. That's the 10. We'll take a break on SEN. Supercars at the Sandown 500. And it's Jamie Whincup who leads the way on lap 48. Lap 52 of the Sandown 500. Great to have you with us. SEN Supercars on your Sunday afternoon for tyre power. Toyo Open Country tyres. Number 1 on the grid. You could be off to Vegas with tyre power. Right now, we have Jamie Whincup, who is off in the lead of this Sandown 500. Not much has changed in terms of the order at the front. Lap 52, Whincup by 1.3 seconds over Jack Perkins. Kevin Estray next from Michael Caruso, and David Russell, who's been fighting his way clear of the pack in Brodie Kostecki's Coke Camaro. Problem at the moment for the Castrol car. Thomas Randall's car with Gary Jacobson at the wheel. He just ran really wide off the road at turn 6, and there's all sorts of debris over there, which is bitumen on the outside of the circuit. And when we look at track conditions for Polaris, Australia's #1 selling side-by-side brand, the track condition out there off the racing surface is really messy.
There's a big chunk of rubber that come up from the replay. We just saw a change of position here between the two Shell cars into turn number 1. So D'Alberto gets ahead of Davison, who's been slowly falling back through the pack. We wonder if he's just trying to get these tyres, and Stanaway gets him at the same time. He needs to get to lap 54 before he can pit to clear his co-driver duties.
And Alex Davison's been sinking like a stone in the last couple of laps. They've not just passed him, but they've left him behind. He hasn't been able to go with them. He's back to 11th place. Now, it's Whincup leading from Perkins, Estray, Caruso, Russell, Blanchard, Everingham, Jonathan Webb, Tony D'Alberto. And I tell you what, just running, well, I was going to say they're running hot in race for Ream, Australia's favourite hot water. Richie Stanaway in the Shane Van Gisbergen car might not be hot, but the temperature's lifting. It's just getting warmer, the water for car 97. He's moving forward. He's up to 10th, and they're playing their way in this game from 19th on the grid, making moves as 888 tend to do. When they start back in the pack, they tend to be able to bring it on around. So at the moment, that number 97 car is sitting 10th. And we talked before about the problem for Gary Jacobson in the 55 Castrol car. He's got it back to the pit lane. He's in the pit bay. In fact, he's in the garage now as well, as they go to work on this car to try to remove the front wheel. So there, he's copped a hit down the side. I wonder if there's potentially some steering damage.
That was from the Shell car on the replay, what you saw in the background while you were saying that comment there. And smashed in that exhaust system on the car as well. Not the first time we've seen that in the Supercar. They'll have to fix that to get it back out there. So another one dropping down the order is the Castrol car of Jacobson and young Thomas Randall. It's been full-time for a couple of seasons now. He's in some good form, but seem to have come to a stop here today at the Sandown 500.
David Russell continues that fight back. Car 99's 4th. He's by Michael Caruso now. So the Erebus Championship leading 99 car of Brodie Kostecki had to double stack behind its teammate under the safety car that came out on lap 20. We're on lap 55 now. And David Russell, who's been in Porsche Carrera Cup this year, he's driven with Brodie for the last couple of years. They were 4th at Bathurst last year, 3rd the previous year, and he's slowly but surely worked his way through. He's only 13 seconds now off the lead of the race. They're back in the game. I was worried when they were 9th, 10th, 11th in that pack of cars that looked like it was going to choose someone and spit it out the back. He's been able to get away from that and run on a bit of clear road now. His next mission is 9 seconds in front of him, and it's Kevin Estray, and it's Erebus who are waiting in pit lane for a pit stop. I think that was Will Brown ready on standby for Jack Perkins to come in. Alex Davison is fighting at the moment with Craig Lowndes. They're on the run down the back straight. Lowndes is right behind Davison, 12th and 13th. Davison's just trying to hang in there in that Shell V-Power Mustang, and Craig's trying to grab another spot in this wild card, number 888 car. But Jack Perkins is now in the end of lap 55.
And remember, it has 13 seconds. And looked, from what we could see, they were going to double stack these cars. The tyres are around for the 99 as well, as Perkins is set to jump out.
And he's done. We've got to lap 55 complete. So he has done his minimum 54. Joining him in the Repco authorised service pit lane is Alex Davison. And I reckon he's a relieved dude right now because that car was sinking. Caruso's in to hand over to Mark Winterbottom. This Repco authorised service pit lane is going to be pretty busy here because we've now reached the point where the co-drivers have done their minimum number of laps. They can give it to the main gamer and it's their problem for the rest of the afternoon.
Remember, the 11 will have to serve that extra 5 seconds when they come in. This Davison car is in the pits. Alex jumps out and now Will. They've been a combination that goes back nearly a decade now, give or take. And I'm with you. I think you'll be relieved to get out of this car today and go, man, what was I driving on marshmallows there?
Yeah, that did not look like fun at all. They're putting the Gary Jacobson Castrol car back into the garage at the moment. Blanchard's been in, Webb's been in, Coulthard's in as well. They're all leaping out to put their regular drivers in. So Will Davison leaves his pit bay in car 17. Nick Percat's getting into car 2. And now the Erebus second car is in with David Russell to hand over to Brodie Kostecki. Jamie Whincup is staying on the road and going deeper into the race. Lap 57 at the moment. Brodie Kostecki jumping in. And a full tank of fuel for one of these cars, for a full fill, is the best part of nearly 50 seconds. It's a slower flow in the new cars compared to the old. So you don't need to rush. The driver change, the tyre change, the fuel really governs things, and it means it just takes a little bit of the heat out of the hurry-flurry of a pit stop.
There's a lot going on because Sandown's pit lane is so narrow. There's a lot going on that one section. The fuel filler is effectively going behind the driver's shoulder now. With years gone by, it'd be down the rear of the car in the boot. So there's a fair bit going on and the limited space to get down there. They've been rehearsing and practicing all weekend long here at Sandown Raceway.
Leader in, Jamie Whincup's going to pit and hand this car over to Brock Feeney. So from the lead of the race into the Repco authorised service pit lane comes Jamie Whincup. He'll hand over. Kevin Estray's in to hand over to Matthew Payne. So cars that ran first and second on the road and now into the pit lane. Third car on the road, following suit in the pit lane, Tyler Everingham. He's in to give the tradie car to Declan Fraser. It is busy times in the Repco authorised service pit lane. Jackson Evans is in. The lead of the race is now with Richie Stanaway. He has stayed on the road. Of course, the sister Red Bull car is currently using the pit bay, so he's going to stay out there at the moment and run around. But he is now the leader of the race as we're on lap 58.
So 97 leads from the 35 truck assist car of Jalen Robotham. As the pit stop cycle starts and the co-drivers step out and have an early shower. That was close coming out of the pit lane just then, if you don't mind.
It was tight between Feeney, who was exiting and coming back onto the Brock Straight, and one of the truck assist cars that was already on the track at the time. So he's going to rejoin in 5th. So he's the first of the cars that have made 2 stops. Remember that no compulsory pit stops in this race. You can do whatever you like, whenever you like, however you like. If
just
you
want
to, find the fastest way to get through 161 laps. We've gone 1 hour and 16 minutes on the clock at the moment, and Richie Stanaway is the leader. Lap 58 of 161 of what is a really intriguing Sandown 500. For the moment, the number 88 Red Bull car looks to be the fastest car on the track. The question will be, what do those Erebus cars do now that their regular full-time drivers are behind the wheel in Brodie Kostecki and Will Brown? That's my question. They will answer that question for me as we get up and rolling. We're also knowing too, a little update too, Will Davison's gone by his teammate Anton Di Pasquale, and Anton's been off the road for a run through the grass. The Shell V-Power boys are 18th and 19th in the race at the moment.
So Keefe and Moffat in the pits. Lap 59, Richie Stanaway continues to lead here, but yet to pit with Robotham and Fiore, who'll have 5 seconds added to his pit stop time in the Middies Racing Chevy Camaro. Ojeda has pitted twice. He's in 4th position ahead of Feeney. who's now behind the wheel of car 88 after that magnificent stint from the 7-time Supercar champion in Jamie Whincup. In he comes, Stanaway pits.
So the end of lap 58, he's done for the day. He's done his laps. Shane van Gisbergen will be ready and waiting to take over the number 97 car as Cam Waters steps aboard the number 6 Tickford car. Has had one heck of a day so far today. For Bendix, put your foot down with confidence with Bendix brakes. Our Bendix big moment so far has to be the Garth Tander accident when the left rear wheel came off that car. It flew through the air, and we've actually been able to capture a replay to tell our listeners it flew through the air and didn't crash horizontally through the wing. It went up in the air, and as Moffat drove underneath it, it dropped down and landed vertically straight on the rear wing. A millisecond later, he's through without a problem. It was unbelievable.
It doesn't matter what you try and anticipate is going to happen in a car race. Something always seems to come up and surprise you. It was like the day when the wheel come off the Dumbrell car at Bathurst years ago and got Craig Lowndes' windscreen. Another second later, it would have gone straight over the top of his car.
Exactly, yeah.
Just the bizarrest things happen in this sport, don't they?
They do, and they keep on happening.
Yeah.
Just when you thought you've seen it all, we get more of it, and we're on lap 60 now of 161. Jalen Robotham is now the leader. He's the co-driver for Cameron Hill in the truck assist number 35 car. Dean Fiore's second on the road, so it's really washed up now because there's a range of cars that have pitted twice. The first couple on the road haven't. So let's really focus on 4th, Brock Feeney, 5th, Will Brown, 6th, Matthew Payne. They're the cars that are running in terms of real position and sequence at the moment, who are the contenders for this race as it sits right now. That's car 88 with Feeney and Whincup, car 9 with Brown and Perkins, and 19 with Payne and Kevin Estray, who started the race in that car, the Frenchman, who stepped out of it now.
We're just starting to see a lot more mistakes happening here now. So we enter lap 61 of the race, with Jalen Robotham continuing to lead. He's teaming up with Cam Hill, who's at his maiden year in the Supercars Championship after a run in Super 2. Climbing the tiers of racing and being passed down at the turn 9 hairpin now. So Robotham and Fiore yet to pit.
Robotham's rowing in the boat with no tyres. He's really struggling. He's being menaced by all the cars who've just pitted and are coming back out with fresh rubber. He's hanging on. He's cast sideways off every corner. In fact, he's giving it away. He's going to the Repco authorised service pit lane, and Dean Fiore now takes the lead in the Middies Camaro.
So when it cleanses Ojeda, he's out of sync, remember, with the pit stop cycle. Will be Feeney, Brown, Matt Payne behind the wheel now, the Penrite car, car 19, that Kevin Estray drove so well in the opening stanza of the race. Kostecki, Winterbottom, who for mine, Noons, that DeWalt Chevy Camaro, I'm going to put an asterisk next to that car because they benefited so much in the opening sequence of the race. And what, nearly 9 positions?
Yeah, they picked up lots from pitting early under that safety car. Robotham in the pits at the moment. They are doing a brake change on car 35. And the difference this year is that the brake pad change, it's not just the pads. You change the caliper and the pad all in one unit. And that's got a few teams worried whether that might go wrong. Looks to have gone okay for the truck assist team. Cameron Hill, the former Porsche Carrera Cup champ, who's re-signed with that team for another couple of years. He takes over for his first run in a Sandown 500. There's a bunch of drivers actually making their Sandown 500 debut. The young drivers who haven't been in the championship for the last, 5 years since we had the last one. So it's a little bit uncharted territory. Dean Fiore now is pitting, so that means Brock Feeney will take back the lead of the race in the number 88 car that Jamie Whincup started the race in. At the moment, we've had one safety car so far. Have I jinxed it if I say that?
No, so I stay quiet in that sequence.
I'll say nothing. I'll say nothing. So at the moment, it's Brock Feeney. He's out in front. He leads the way. Jaden Ojeda sits second in the Jack LeBrock car. Will Brown's third. Matt Payne is fourth. Brody Kostecki's fifth. We've got an interesting Sandown 500 here on SEN. Lap 63, and it's Chevy Camaros. There are 10 in the top 11. It's lap 67 of the Sandown 500. Race 23 of this year's Repco Supercars Championship. It's Sunday Supercars on SEN for tyre power. Toyo Open Country Road tyres are #1 on the grid, and you could be off to Vegas with tyre power. Right now, it's Brock Feeney who's off in the lead of the race. He's 4.1 seconds clear of Jaden Ojeda, lap 67 of 161. Will Brown third, Matt Payne fourth, Brodie Kostecki sits P5 at the moment. But Matt, one of the things I want to talk about quickly, track conditions. Thanks to Polaris Off-Road, the amount of rubber that's peeled off these tyres so far, there's always rubber that peels off. It's a car race, that's what happens. But there's massive chunks of rubber on the inside of turn one. If anyone wants to launch a passing move up there, they're going to collect some of that on their hot tyres. It's not what they want.
No, normally they'd be like marble-sized rubber on the side. But we're seeing chunks of rubber, particularly on the main straight, off the racing line and over the back there towards turn 6 and turn 7. A little bit early in the race to be seeing that kind of rubber debris out on the course. So we'll keep an eye on that as the race continues on lap 68. Brock Feeney has a 5-second lead, Noons. And a change of position here as well. Brown goes up ahead of Jaden Ojeda, who's out of sync with the guys around him right now in the truck assist Chevy Camaro.
So Will Brown is back behind the wheel for the first time today of his car. Jack Perkins started from pole position, and Will Brown's 5 seconds down on Brock Feeney. So the boys who will be teammates next year are battling right now for the Sandown 500. Long way to go. We've been racing for 1 hour and 28 minutes of this 500-kilometre race. We've had just the one safety car so far. That was back on lap 20. It came in at the end of 25, and we've been running green ever since. We're on lap 68. Leader Brock Feeney is just on his way from Dandenong Road corner back towards the pit facility here at Sandown as Will Brown leaves Dandenong Road corner 5 seconds behind. But right now, he doesn't need to go and try to claim that back. He doesn't need to burn this car into the ground, desperately trying to make that back on the road, because we've still got a long way to go. 93 laps to complete in this Sandown 500. And if you're a Ford fan, I got bad news for you. You've got one Mustang in the top 10. But I tell you what, Matthew Payne and Kevin Estray, the rookie Kiwi, and he's not a rookie. He's a rookie in Supercars, is the Frenchman. He's a Porsche factory driver who races all over the world. They're fourth at the moment. They've given a wonderful account of themselves so far today. But the next best Ford is Todd Hazelwood in 11th, and he's just started lap 69. Behind the lead, he's 32 seconds away from the lead. He's got a pack of Fords behind him. Declan Fraser, Will Davison, Anton Di Pasquale, Jake Kostecki. They ran at 15 runners at the moment. We've got 25 cars left on the lead lap. Major delay for Thomas Randall, who's now back in the Castrol car after some steering dramas, and just the one retirement, the David Reynolds Garth Tander Mustang, all over after 18 laps of the 69 so far.
Tom Randall, 12 laps behind now on the race leader. There was another one of the potential favourites for the race with he and Gary Jacobson today after that strong showing at the Bend Motorsport Park with pole positions and podiums all weekend long there in South Australia. So it'll be just a case of a live test session now for the Tickford Racing prepared car. But you're right, the Mustang's outside that top 10. There's a fleet of 5 there that are trying to get their way back into the 10 now. James Courtney has got the 5 Snowy River Caravans car back up into the top 20. That car was down the bottom with one off, and then another spin with Zach Best behind the wheel in the initial stage of the race, and continues to set fastest laps. This will be his 3rd fastest lap in succession now, back in 17th position as we work lap 70 at 161.
So still the fastest lap of the race for many of the laps so far was Jamie Whincup from earlier on, but it's been eclipsed on lap 65 by Macaulay Jones, a 1:10.40 for Makita XGT. Power without limits. That's our Makita hot lap of the Sandown 500 so far. He sits in 25th, the young gun from Albury. Brock Feeney's just rattled off lap 70. 5.6 seconds is the margin. Will Brown's going fishing here. He's just starting to edge away, but that is a bit of margin to find on the road. Jaden Ojeda behind in 3rd is dropping away from them and falling back into the clutches of Matt Payne in the number 19 Grove Penrite Mustang. So lap 71 at the Sandown 500 here on SEN for Tyre Power, your trusted local. And right now, it's the Chevy Camaros. They are in control, 9 in the top 10, but Ford are not done with yet. And this is Sandown. You never know what you're going to get next. We'll take a break. Lap 71 at Sandown. Brock Feeney leads the way. The margin, 5.54 seconds. Supercars on SEN, the Sandown 500. Our coverage thanks to Tyre Power. Pole position for value on Toyo tyres. At the moment, we're working lap 75 of the Melbourne Endurance Classic. Race 23, the Repco Supercars Championship. And Feeney, Brock Feeney, leads the way. 5.5 seconds clear of Will Brown. Matt Payne is third. Then it's Brodie Kostecki, Mark Winterbottom. How's this? The wild card, Craig Lowndes, is up to 6th. He's been slicing and dicing, has the Supercars legend. Andre Heimgartner, Tim Slade, Shane Van Gisbergen and Todd Hazelwood is the top 10. 5-second penalty being prescribed, though, to 5th placed Mark Winterbottom for exceeding track limits. He'll have to take that, Matt Naulty, at his next pit stop.
That could be for over the back at turn 6 or maybe on the exit of turn number 1. More commonly it is at turn 6, the slalom downhill to turn 9 at Dandenong Road corner. We've been watching the AAA car, haven't we? He hasn't been really burning the tyres off. He's just out there, and with 19 starts, he knows what he's doing here at the 500. Craig Lowndes, they're up into 6th position now from 23rd on the grid.
Just been doing a workmanlike job, moving on forward. Speaking of moving, Will Davison's moving too. He's now on board the 17 Shell V-Power car. He's just gone by Todd Hazelwood. That's for 10th place as we work lap 76. We're nearly there to the halfway mark of the Sandown 500. We've been going for 1 hour and 38 minutes. Just the one BP Ultimate safety car moment so far. It was way back in lap 20 to 25. Brock Feeney's just rattled off lap 76. That time around, a 1:11.38. Will Brown, a 1:11.34. Nothing in it. That margin's not moving, but thanks to Polaris Off-Road, I want to talk track conditions because this rubber issue is becoming really effective. It's really a factor. Massive chunks of rubber being sprawled all around this Sandown track that's peeling off these tyres. Far bigger chunks than we're normally used to seeing. The soft tyre on the Gen 3 car is really causing an issue. That might be a problem later on for passing. It might take away a passing lane.
And particularly through turn 2 and 3, we saw the SET Logistics car and the wildcard entry of Kostecki really bring on a whole chunk of rubber there that's been on the outside. It's not really a passing point of this track anyway, but like you said, we've still got over half the race to go. The amount of rubber that's out there now is somewhere around the lap 140, 150 mark.
I could build a set of tyres out of what's out there at the moment. They're pretty limited on rubber for this weekend, but I reckon if they were a bit thrifty, they could put together a couple of sets of tyres because there's enough of that rubber that's out there on the road that's been cast off the tyres. Leader Brock Feeney's done 77 laps now. Red Bull Ampol are in control of this race. Feeney, pretty good when you've got Jamie Whincup, the most winning Supercars driver in history, to be your co-driver. Also helps he's the team boss. He's the team principal these days at Triple Eight. But let's talk Craig Lowndes. He's 6th. He hasn't raced all year, Craig Lowndes. He hasn't raced a supercar since Bathurst last October. He's 24 seconds away from the lead of the race in the car that he's sharing with Zane Goddard. He's 3 seconds behind Mark Winterbottom, who has a 5-second penalty coming at the next pit stop. But Craig Lowndes, he's re-signed with Triple Eight. This caught me by surprise. They've done a deal with him for another 2 years that he's going to keep driving the wildcard entry for them in the endurance races. And this has been a great system for Triple Eight. They brought in Brock Feeney through the wildcard. They're helping rebuild Zane Goddard, who after a crash at Bathurst with Tickford last year was maligned by the industry, by the fans. He made a mistake. They've really rebuilt him. And running with Craig Lowndes, that's a great opportunity for him. Declan Fraser last year co-drove with Craig. He's the supercar star. He's the man that transcends the sport. And he's up 17 positions from 23rd on the grid, and he's 6th. And that's genuine. That's not a whole pile of blokes have dropped out and a whole pile of people have pitted, and he's passed cars today. He's made ground, and he got away with what could have been Our Bendix big moment, remember, put your foot down with confidence for Bendix brakes. When he got together with Jalen Robotham on the back straight, they nudged. Craig was sideways, managed to save it. It was a really close call. But right now, we've got a change for third. Championship leader, Brodie Kostecki's gone by Matthew Payne, and he's on his way. So he's third in the race. 6 seconds behind his teammate Will Brown, who in turn is 6 seconds behind Brock Feeney. So 3 of the top 4 in the championship are going to fight for this race win. The other guy in the championship contention, Shane van Gisbergen, is 8. He's up 11 spots from where he started. He's not out of it yet either.
Absolutely. Matt Payne, the sole Mustang inside that top 10 right now, with 5 knocking on the door, trying to get back into it here. There were 6 that qualified in the top 10 shootout yesterday to set the grid for the Sandown 500. And guess what, Noons? We're halfway home at the end of this one. Race 23 of the championship, and just over 1 hour and 42 minutes of racing. 1 safety car period, and it's game on for the remaining 250 kilometres of this race.
Bad sportsmanship flag's been given to Craig Lowndes. We pumped his tyres and he's gone and exceeded the track limit.
Oh.
So he does that again, he'll get a 5-second penalty. You better be very, very careful, Craig.
You are cursing this today.
Hey, who do you want taken out of here? I'll talk about them.
Take care of it personally.
It is the commentator's curse. Right now, they're cursing Brock Feeney because he's extending the margin. 6.5 seconds now. Lap 80. We've been racing for 1 hour and 42 minutes here at Sandown today. And I reckon the guy I just want to talk about here briefly is Brodie Kostecki, championship leader. Didn't quite get it done in the shootout yesterday, but still started on the front row of the grid. He's got the chance here today. If you can't win this race, stay in the game, get a trophy, get on the podium, keep that momentum rolling to Bathurst in October. And for Erebus, they've got 2 bullets in the chamber. They're both in the game. They're second and they're third. We've hit half race. We're on lap 81 now of 161. And Brodie Kostecki leads by 137 points coming into this race today. 300 for the win, 276 for second. So yeah, you might trim a couple of points, but it's not. It's actually, I look at this one, that's avoiding a potential disaster. Okay, you might lose a few points. Feeney was first, you're second, third, fourth, whatever it is. It could be far, far worse. You escape a danger event where you could lose so much more.
You've got to finish. You've got to finish both the endurance races if you're in that championship contention. And this is what I said about Van Gisbergen at the start. They started down the field for this race. There's no point throwing the toys out the pram now and thinking the championship's over. If one of these guys up the top has a mistake, they are back in this.
And Van Gisbergen is 8th, and he's up 11 spots. But it is still Lowndes who's made up the most. He and Zane Goddard, that car, from 23rd, they're 6th, and they're staying 6th at the moment. Feeney and Brown are now separated by 6.8 seconds. Brock is just sneaking away. Right now, that car is the car to beat, not just because it's in the lead of the race. It's shown consistently today it's the fastest car here this weekend.
Back into the 111s now for our race leader. The gap sits at just under 7 seconds back to Will Brown. Kostecki has got past the Penrite Mustang in the last couple of laps. Mark Winterbottom still runs in 5th with a 5-second time penalty hanging over the top of the DeWalt Chevy Camaro. Lowndes 6th, Heimgartner 7th. Van Gisbergen 8th position now with Slade and Will Davison inside that top 10 on lap 82.
A little update on some of our cars that have had issues. The Cam Waters Monster Mustang that had the rear wing blown off it earlier by the wheel that had bounced off Garth Tander's car. Would you believe it? He's still on the lead lap. The problem is he's 22nd and he's a minute 10 off the leader of the race. So he's not far away from dropping off the lead lap of this race. So the other car that was in the pits earlier in the day with damage to the rear that was being hacksawed away was the Lee Holdsworth Chaz Mostert Mustang. And Chaz is at the wheel, 17th at the moment, a minute off the lead of the race, but still on the lead lap and fighting for points. He's 5th in the championship here, Chaz, and desperately trying to work his way back up the order. But right now, again, the Camaros have taken control. The Mustangs, a couple of them have had problems. Steering for Thomas Randall, a wheel off Garth Tander's car, a wing problem for Cam Waters, which nothing James Moffat could do about that one. So they've had their issues, they've had their dramas, but they just don't have the pace. They just don't have the ability to manage the cars for long enough in terms of the aero, the tyres. There was a little change over the weekend to the shift cut timing on the Mustang, but no doubt those Ford teams need and want some form of a tweak aerodynamically before we get to Bathurst if they want to consider themselves to be in the game. Because right here, right now, it's just a weight of numbers that it's the Camaros in control. Feeney, 7.4 seconds now in front.
But this backs up Kevin Estre's running that stint to be the only Mustang inside the top 10 right now comfortably, and they're around that group of cars like Kostecki and Winterbottom right now. So that is a mighty job by the Frenchman earlier today.
And that's kudos too to Matt Payne, who out-qualified David Reynolds yesterday. I mean, this year, the qualifying head-to-head between Reynolds and his younger teammate, Matt Payne, it's 12-11. Payne is only one off him in terms of out-qualifying David Reynolds this year. Bad sportsmanship flag now too for Macaulay Jones, exceeding track limits. We're on lap 84 of the Sandown 500. Feeney, Brown, Kostecki, they are the top three, but it's a big margin. Feeney to Brown, 7.4 seconds. Back to Kostecki from Brown is another 11 seconds. Matt Payne another 1.6 behind. And then we've got a fight here. Mark Winterbottom, Craig Lowndes, nose to tail. They've also got in among there Thomas Randall. He's a lap down and will get out of Shane van Gisbergen's way, who's now just closing in. He's cleared Randall down the back straight. But that's the fight for 5th, 6th and 7th place. The Fords having their own fight for 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th and 14th. Davison, De Pasquale, Hazelwood, Fraser, Courtney. But Feeney is just building this margin.
Track limits warnings coming out as this race unfolds. The drivers start to feel the pressure, feel the pain of consistently running around this Sandown Raceway. Of course, bad sportsmanship flag is your warning. Next time, you'll get a time penalty added next to your name for the next pit stop. So you can take that in consideration as well. So we work lap 85 of this race. Feeney just inching away by about 1/10 of a second each lap now on Will Brown. Kostecki runs in third, but a further 10 seconds away from his Coca-Cola Racing by Erebus teammate. And haven't they had a sensational year? Straight out the box, those two Camaros have been fast.
Yeah, they've really geared themselves, haven't they, towards Gen 3. They went and put the effort into do their own cars, their own chassis. We've got a change for 6th. Van Gisbergen's got by. Craig Lowndes down the back straight, which is ironic because remember that earlier in the year when they rolled out that super cheap wildcard car for Zane Goddard to drive in Darwin, that was the car that he and Lowndes were going to drive. Van Gisbergen's now through on Winterbottom to grab another spot. He's up to 5th. But Van Gisbergen was angry with his car. He was upset with it all year, with its steering, its feel, the vibrations. So they put him into what had been intended to be the super cheap wildcard car, and they've left him in it. So Lowndes is driving the car that Shane drove earlier in the year. Remember that he won in Newcastle. It got taken away on Saturday, and he went and won the next day to get it back. But a bit of a change for the 888 team in terms of their Chevrolet Camaro stock. Lowndes under pressure now from Andre Heimgartner, who's trying to get up the inside at turn 4. Can't quite squeeze the move and get it done. But Van Gisbergen's clear of this pack. He's now into 5th. He's 6.5 seconds behind Matt Payne. So we could very well soon see the 4 championship contending drivers in the top 4 spots, albeit just in a little bit of a different order to how they sit in the points.
Now, is Lowndes' tyres starting to
yes.
cry enough?
I think they are saying white flag.
Yeah.
I've done some work. I wouldn't mind being traded. Yep, trade me in.
We're back at the garage.
It's a new for old replacement policy in the Repco Authorised Service pit lane at Sandown today. Remember, you can rely on your local Repco Authorised Service centre to look after you. But right now, Lowndes is hanging in there. Heimgartner hasn't been able to blow him away, but that's what Feeney's doing. 8.6 seconds now. That's the margin from he back to Brown. Just got a little overcast here at the moment here, fine Sir Matthew. The weather update for Kubota Cast, Shaping and Building Australia, and a little bit overcast, more overcast than we've had in 3 days of on-track running at this Sandown 500. I'm not going to go any further with the weather chat because...
Hence why I'm being quiet.
Yeah, you are the weather guru.
The king of
you
wrecking
can
it.
make stuff happen.
The rainmaker.
You are the rainmaker. You've done it before. Heimgartner's now fighting with Lowndes. They're on the back straight, and Andre's down the inside for 7th place. So the tyres on the Lowndes car have done beautiful work for him, but they're just starting to fall away as those with better quality on their rubber manage to roll on by. And I've got a feeling we just hit this quieter part of the race. Right now, I wouldn't be thinking that we're going to see a Bendix big moment for the best known breaks.
Brown.
But just as I say this, Will Brown is peeling off from 2nd place in the race at the end of lap 87.
So that's about 30 laps since he last pitted, 31, 32 laps.
Yep.
Since they did the swap over with Jack Perkins, who's on standby, remember?
Yeah, we've had a report that Jack's not changing out of his race suit because Will Brown's had some back issues. So if they... And we should point out too that just because you've done your minimum doesn't mean that you have to stay out of the car. Anyway, we'll take a break. Brock Feeney leads. We're on lap 88 at Sandown. It's Supercars on SEN, the Sandown 500 in Melbourne. SEN Supercars for tyre power, your trusted local. Right now, we're in the middle of a bit of a pit stop cycle. We've had our leaders all come on in to pit lane. We've had Brock Feeney in. We've had Brody Kostecki into the Repco authorised service pit lane. They're back on the road. And the leader of the race is now a Ford. Matthew Payne at the wheel of the number 19 Penrite Grove Mustang. Of course, it's all part of this pit stop shuffle, so he will be in at some point soon. Van Gisbergen 2nd, Heimgartner 3rd, then Will Davison, Anton De Pasquale, Declan Fraser, James Courtney, and Brock Feeney is now 8th on the road, having pitted last time around. We're on lap 92 now here at Sandown. And in the pit lane is car 23, Tim Slade, Noonan Premier Racing Chevrolet Camaro. And they've had a pretty quiet day, Matt. Jonathan Webb was outside the 10 in the early part of the race. It's a pretty busy Repco authorised service pit lane as he tries to peel on out. Scott Pye's in, Cam Waters is in, Todd Hazelwood's been in. Busy place.
And they were quicker. Jono Webb was actually making up a lot of positions in the earlier stint today, but the 31 sort of levelled out a bit here. See Penrite team wait for Matthew Payne to come in. And the sole Ford in the top 10, or prior to the pit stops, of course, that's jumbled up now, and he brings in the Penrite number 19 that Kevin Estre started today with. Could already start to feel some of the good combinations. They're doing breaks as well on the 19. Start to feel some of the strong combinations that will be heading to Bathurst in a few weeks, the 60th running of the Bathurst 1000. Van Gisbergen goes into the lead now, but of course yet to pit, along with De Pasquale. James Courtney has really turned around the form of that Snowy River Caravans car. Remember, they were 27th and about 10 seconds away from the car ahead. He's been driving fastest lap after fastest lap as Payne leaves the Repco pit lane.
And they've done a brake change on that car.
In good time as well.
Yeah, that was pretty quick. Shell V-Power team have also got one of their cars in at the moment. I think it's 17, Will Davison it is, in the Repco authorised service pit lane. And they've just been hovering around the 10. He and his brother Alex, who started the race. Will's on board now. Cam Waters also in the pit lane receiving service. That will drop him off the lead lap now. He was hanging in there for a while, but with the way that the strategies and the cycles were flowing, he's now back on the road. Car 6 is 25th in the motor race. Actually 2 laps down now as De Pasquale pits. Van Gisbergen running a bit deeper, running a bit longer here than the rest of the pack. He's not out of this. He pretty much washes out in about 4th when this all plays out. He was on the road about 5 or 6 seconds behind Matthew Payne before the pit stop cycle began, and he is sitting in a decent position here to see where he comes out in relation to that car. Shell V-Power team have now got car 11 in with Anton De Pasquale, 4 tyres, fuel. He stays on board in our Repco authorised service pit lane. Remember, you can rely on your local Repco authorised service centre, and it's a longer pit stop time these days in the new supercar era. Bigger fuel tanks and tyres going on, and it's a case of sitting around and waiting and rejoining. Van Gisbergen's 28 seconds to the clear of James Courtney, but this is all going to shuffle out with Brock Feeney back in the lead of the race very soon.
With that slower fuel rate as well that goes in, that takes the pressure off the driver changes as such before, because more often than not the fuel would be done before the drivers were strapped in. Now you've got that, what, maybe 10 seconds longer, 15 seconds?
Yeah, and it's harder to get in and out of these cars as well. So it's a really good thing the way that is all played out here. Back on the road, Di Pasquale has the leader, Van Gisbergen, right on him on the exit of the back straight, or the run onto the back straight, I should say. Turn 4 through the little kink at turn 5. And then they blast on down this straight that just rises above. Back in the day, they used to stop, slow down and turn left to the infield. Very unpopular, the infield section. It was all about extending the track to bring World Championship racing to Sandown. Didn't get Formula 1. They got World Sports Cars and...
It's kind of just squiggled around there, wasn't it?
It was a Mickey Mouse little go-kart track there that if you drove a big Commodore or a Falcon, not a fan. If you're in a little car, not too bad.
Wasn't great for a Sauber Mercedes, though.
No, it wasn't classy for that sort of stuff, or for a Jag or a Porsche 956. And there's only a very small amount of that bitumen that remains on the infield. All that money spent in 1984, and not much of it is existing. The 49th Sandown Enduro Classic, by the way, we've just gone past the 2-hour mark of this race. We're on lap 96, and Van Gisbergen continues to lead the way. He's staying out there on the road with the next visit not that far away for the pit stop. So we've got a really good race here. It is pretty tight, but really the car in the box seat is 88. Brock Feeney, the Red Bull car, is second on the road. He's the effective race leader as it sits. And I mean, he's 228 points down on Brody Kostecki coming into today's race. He doesn't stand to make much ground back if Kostecki finishes, well, as at the moment he's probably good for a third, maybe a fourth or a second.
Yeah.
So it's not a big chunk, but it's confidence building for he and Jamie Whincup, who, quite frankly, he doesn't need confidence. I mean, he's won plenty of stuff over the years that he could not have to really worry about it. But it's always good. It's good for teams. It's good for momentum. It's good for sponsors. It's good for morale heading to the biggest race of the year in a few weeks' time.
And remember, Sandown was always about that.
Yeah,
You'd come
totally
here and test stuff, and more often than not, you'd have a high attrition rate because of that. But with a championship implication on this now, you've got to come in and really be on your A game straight away. But you're right, there's going to be teams that leave here tonight and go, we've got confidence going into the mountain in a few weeks' time. There's others there going, well, we need to have a big think about this because we're nowhere near the mark.
Jack LeBrock is actually in the Repco Authorised Service pit lane right now, Matt. And the reason why is he's been black flag, mechanical black flag. There was some front guard damage on that car. It was flapping around. And race control said, no, bring it in, get that sorted. So they're getting that sorted while they service the car as it sits. Shane Van Gisbergen is still the leader. He's on his way down the back straight to the fast left-hander at turn 6 that drops them down through the S's. We're not far off bringing up the ton. And he's in a little deep there, Dandenong Road. Pulled it up and made it around the corner. But he's 27.5 seconds clear of Feeney. And he's got Mark Winterbottom, who he was fighting with earlier for position. Remember that Frosty's pitted. He's a lap behind him, but now he's not because he's on fresh tyres. He's gone on by, and Van Gisbergen's in at the end of lap 97 in car 97.
I was watching that last lap for him, and he was really ragging the 97 Red Bull Ampol Racing Camaro. So he comes into the pits to put Brock Feeney back into the lead of the race. It was 27 seconds, the margin. So you're right, he'll drop in somewhere around Kostecki, on our screen at least anyway, in the series leading Coca-Cola Racing Camaro. It's about to chalk up 100 laps of the Sandown 500. Doing the numbers in our head, Noons, I think if we go safety car free, there's the curse.
Careful.
We should just get the entire race in before that time certain mark.
And you know what just happened here on SEN? Matt Naulty changed the course of the motor race.
Yep.
From the commentary box.
The Sandown 490.
It's happened before, actually.
It has, yeah.
I think we've had a 390, a 388, a 427. We've had about it all. Van Gisbergen's had his pit stop. He's at the exit of the Repco Authorised Service pit lane and rolling back onto the track, down the ramp pit exit here that feeds them back onto the pit straight. Feeney's gone by, Brown's gone by, Kostecki has gone by, and he'll rejoin just behind Bryce Forward, who's leapt up the order, and right in front of Matt Payne, the Kiwi rookie in his first year in the main game, is now all over the back. He's on warm tyres, he's up to temperature, he's up and rolling. Van Gisbergen trying to get himself up and going onto the back straight. He's got Payne and Heimgartner. It's a Kiwi fest. There's 6 Kiwis in this race, and 3 of them are nose to tail on the run down the back straight right here, right now, lap 98.
Zane Goddard is the sole co-driver as he took over the wheel of car 888 when Craig Lowndes jumped out. They are on for a good result here, and a little bit of pressure for Zane now. That car that made up 13 positions. It was a high as 6 with Craig Lowndes behind the wheel, 6-time and defending 500 champion. As it's on down here at...
Oh, Van Gisbergen punching a move on forward, who he's got a pit soon,
yes.
So he's not really able to fight. He's got tyres that are out to lunch, and these fresh rubber cars are going to go by, and they do. And as I say that, it's like I willed Bryce forward to the Repco authorised service pit lane, and that's where he's gone.
3 seconds difference between the tyres going off and a brand new set of tyres there on the 97. That is staggering, the drop off between the old and the new tyres. Here's the Middy's electrical Camaro that Dean Fiore drove at the start.
And they're in the pit lane. They've just taken off one of the plastic windscreen shield pieces that you don't have to do the old days of getting the windscreen wiper out and the bucket of soapy water and trying to wash it. They just peel away the layer off that polycarbonate screen, and then ta-da, new fresh screen. And Bryce Ford's now heading back on the road. So Brock Feeney is on lap 100, and after all that pit stop shuffling, he's now 13 seconds clear of Will Brown, who's 4 seconds in front of Brodie Kostecki, and Shane Van Gisbergen's another 12 behind. So the top 4 drivers, the top 2 teams in the championship, are going to fight for the first endurance race of the year.
100 laps in, 62 remain, and 2 hours 7 minutes of racing. With just the 1 safety car period early, we lost Garth Tander and David Reynolds on lap 19 in the Penrite Mustang when the wheel came loose, sending the Mustang into a series of spins between turn 8 and turn 9. The wheel of that car came up and landed on the monster Mustang of Moffat and Waters. Wonder how they would be had that not happened. They'd be in that mix in that top 6, surely.
Yeah, they'd be in there. I tell you what, who's moving. Will Davison's up to 7th. He's the second best of the Fords, and I reckon that monster car would have been somewhere in that realm. But that is what could have been. He's 25th, Cam Waters, and nearly 2 laps off the lead of the race. Feeney is on lap 100. In fact, he completes lap 100 as I start that sentence. But despite that car leading more laps today, it hasn't set our Makita hot lap for Makita XGT. It's power without limits. Fastest lap still with Macaulay Jones, 1:10.40. That was back on lap 65 in the Pete Sart Camaro that he's driving. Is P24, 1 lap down on the pace at the moment. Matt Payne's got an issue. It's called Andre Heimgartner. Andre's on his way to close in on the back of the Mustang. He's tucked in on the main straight, right behind the rear wing, and he's going to have a look down at turn 1. He's going to put back that car behind the Mustang. Not enough to lunge down the inside and get the move done here, but good fight back. Brad Jones Racing have been pretty much nowhere all weekend, and they've traditionally struggled at Sandown. Doesn't matter about the generation of car or the era. It's just not been a place that suited them, but they're coming right at the right time of the race because their lead car, number 8, started by Dale Wood. Andre Heimgartner at the wheel now is P6 and zeroing in on P5.
Of course, Dale had a very big weekend with Porsche Carrera Cup duties as well, and a lot of the co-drivers that have been in the field have been in the support categories at the Sandown 500, so no shortage of laps. And we've seen this for decades now, haven't we, Noons, where we go to teams what you call home tracks, and the opposite team or the opposite state has a better run at that track than what you'd expect.
You'd think that 888 was based in Springvale with the way that they go here, because they've got an unbelievable record. They've won 14 of the last 17 Supercars championship races at this track across different formats. Single driver sprint races, 500-kilometre enduros, and it's Brock Feeney who is now 12 seconds in front. We're on lap 102 of the Sandown 500, and it's Feeney and Whincup, that number 88 Camaro. It leads the way. We'll take a little break. It's Feeney, Brown, Kostecki, Van Gisbergen and Matt Payne, the top 5 in the Sandown 500. The chase for the Sandown 500 continues. SEN Supercars for tyre power. Toyo Open Country tyres, number 1 on the grid. You could be off to Vegas with tyre power right now. Brock Feeney is still in the lead. It's lap 106 of the Melbourne Endurance Classic. 12.6 seconds back to Will Brown. But Matt Naulty, Will Brown has an issue. It is called Brodie Kostecki. His own teammate, the championship leader, is zeroing in on second place in the motor race.
And they're separated by hundredths of a second at the sectors. I've been watching the last 2 laps between the two of them. Battle for second and third. It was 2.2 seconds last time by, and this time 2.3. So just shaving tenths of a second off each lap. It's been fascinating to watch. When you talk about hundredths of a second, we're talking thousands of a second now between these drivers at the front. It's a fascinating battle.
It's going to build to a Bendix big moment here. Put your foot down with confidence for Bendix brakes, because what do? If you're Erebus and you've got your cars warring on the same piece of road at the same time, you've got a team's championship to consider. You've got the drivers' championship to consider. You don't need 9 and 99 to become 999 and merge together and end up off the road together is where I'm going with all this. So, bit of mental management, bit of stuff in pit lane for Erebus to deal with. If we look at where they're situated, we're on lap 107 here on SEN, and our leaders, so Brock Feeney was last in, and this is the point of the picture, last in on lap 90. Will Brown was in on 87. Brodie Kostecki, 90. But the difference in the game at the moment is the car that is fourth, that started 19th. Shane Van Gisbergen is 26 seconds off the lead, but he last pitted on lap 97. He needs less fuel to put into that car. He should get back some of that margin at this next pit stop to get him a bit closer. And if we get that second safety car period, it's on between the 2 Red Bull cars, the 2 Coke cars. It'll be a Chevy Camaro private war.
But looking at the numbers of tyres today, we're looking about 30 to 32 laps before the drop-off. So if we're looking now, the next pit stop cycle should be around lap 127. There's going to be some pretty sad tyres in the final few laps.
And that's where it's more important for Van Gisbergen. If he's got an advantage of 7, 8, 9 laps over those other cars on tyres, that could be the difference between when he's got them still working and the others have got them dropping off the cliff. So right here, right now is critical. Brock Feeney leads by 12 seconds. You know what? He doesn't need to lead by too much more. He doesn't need to drive this car into the ground. If he can squeak out a little bit more than they were otherwise intending on getting, that could come back to really come back to him for the run home. He's just gone across the line. Lap 108 is completed. 2 hours and 17 minutes of racing. 12 seconds the margin to Will Brown. It's pretty solid. They're all in the very low 1 minute 11 bracket. The fastest they've been all day was mid 110s. So right here, right now, they're sitting a decent clip of pace, not going too crazy, and the margin are not changing too much.
Kostecki and Feeney were 5 thousandths of a second difference in their lap times last time by. It's incredible. They just run this lap after lap, don't they? Feeney with 12.4 seconds. We've talked about the top 3. Shane Van Gisbergen from 19th up into 4th position. Richie Stanaway drove the start of the race. Took a bit of time to get up there into that top 10, but now they are definitely in the mix for the Sandown 500. Matt Payne runs in 5th. Andre Heimgartner in 6th position. Will Davison has brought another Mustang back into the top 10. Zane Goddard is behind the wheel of car 888. Never discount the 888 car at Sandown. He's the only co-driver out there, with Lowndes doing a long stint earlier today. Di Pasquale 9th has bought the Shell V-Power cars, both inside the top 10, and Mark Winterbottom, that 5-second penalty has hurt their day a bit. They were running as high as 3rd earlier today.
So Brock Feeney and Jamie Whincup, Matt, have led 74 of the 109 laps so far. They are in the box seat for today's Sandown 500, and to get 888 another win. Jamie Whincup won this race the last time it was held in 2019. Then he had a co-driver called Craig Lowndes. Lots happened in 4 years. Jamie's retired from full-time driving. He's now the team principal of 888 Race Engineering, and he's a co-driver himself for Brock Feeney, and he did a great job early on. He passed for the lead twice on Jack Perkins, and Brock Feeney's been able to pick up what he started and carry it on. 12.3 seconds the margin. Lap 110 of SEN Supercars today. Our Sandown 500, the warm-up race to the great race. The 60th anniversary Bathurst 1000 will be there with coverage of the top 10 shootout and the fight for pole on Saturday and the full shebang, the 161 lap, 1,000 kilometre race. You can get it on SEN. We've got a good race going here at the moment. Van Gisbergen is fighting his way through some of the slower cars that are down a lap. Scott Pye, 21st, steps aside and lets Van Gisbergen through, who is 4th at the moment and 25 seconds away from the lead at the race. He's not out of this, Shane Van Gisbergen, and this is a race he's never won the 500. He came close. He pushed Garth Tander in 2016, finished second. Together, they nearly won in 19. They led the race. They dominated the race until rear suspension dramas took them out with, 12 laps I think it was to go. And now he's fighting for the final podium spot. But I tell you what, Matt Payne's hanging on in 5th place. Lap 111, Feeney, Brown, Kostecki, Van Gisbergen. Payne is 5th. He's held off Andre Heimgartner, who's dropped back now. Will Davison 7th. Zane Goddard 8th in the 888 wildcard entry. Anton Di Pasquale 9th. And Mark Winterbottom 10th. Just outside, Tim Slade, Declan Fraser, Todd Hazelwood, James Courtney 14th. Cameron Hill 15th. Jack Smith 16th. He's the first car that's lapped, so 15 left on the lead lap. James Golding 17th, Nick Percat 18th, Bryce Forward 19th, Chaz Mostert rounds out the 20, then Jack LeBrock, Scott Pye, Macaulay Jones, Aaron Love, Cam Waters, he's 25th, Thomas Randall is 12 laps down after steering dramas in the Castrol car. He's 26th. We still have 26 runners from the 27 that started. Garth Tander and David Reynolds are out. Remember, our field for Bathurst, Matt, goes to 28 because we get another wild card. The Shell V-Power Dick Johnson team expand to a 3rd car. Kai Allen, the youngster from Mount Gambier in the Super 2 Series, will team with Simona Di Silvestro. And Simona's here today. I saw her earlier in the day. She's made a later trip to Australia than planned. An appendix issue got in the way, so that had to be dealt with before she could jump on the plane. But it was great to see Sim earlier today. Hasn't raced in Supercars since 2019. It's going to be great to have her back at the mountain, and we'll have a 28-car field for the great race on October the 8th.
We've talked about 2019 so much during this race. The last time the 500 was held here at Sandown, but that was in November. This weekend, back in 2019, Brock Feeney had just wrapped up the Super 3 Series. Super 3 Series. That was the 3rd tier for Paul Morris Motorsport that weekend. We knew we were seeing something quite special. He went on to win Super 2, and now is staring down the barrel 4 years later on the same weekend of maybe winning the 500.
It's proof of the pathways, isn't it? He won Super 3, he won Super 2, and now he's fighting for, I was going to say Super 1, but it's
Super 1?
It's the Repco Supercars Championship is what he's fighting for, and he's going the right way about putting a Sandown 500 win together. Lap 113 in Melbourne. 12 seconds of lead still, but Brody Kostecki's closing on Will Brown in that fight for 2nd place. And he's only 1.8 seconds away here, and it's all about now. There's one pit stop to make before they can make it home. They can make it home if they stop now on fuel, no problem, but their tyres, that's the issue. That's what they're hanging in for, to go as long as they can on this stint to get them closer to the end of the race, which has 48 laps left. It will also have a time certain finish, whichever comes first, of 5:43 local time plus 1 lap. That time around, Brock Feeney, 1:11.27. Will Brown, 1:11.57. Brody Kostecki, 1:11.08. Brody's closing in on his teammate.
We're expecting a lot more drama, a lot more safety cars. But we're on that lull period of the race, aren't we?
You're doing your best to jinx it, aren't you?
Well,
you're having a crack.
You've had a good run today. It was my time to have a crack at it. But it has been an exceptionally fast race. 2 hours and 23 minutes of racing, give or take a few seconds. And 48 laps remain in this race.
And our record, Matt, was 3 hours, 13 minutes, 9.9977 seconds for those playing along at home. There was just the one safety car period in that race in 2019. It affected 4 laps. Today, the one safety car period that we did have affected 6 laps. So not far off, pretty close to a pretty fast race. It was delayed by 15 minutes. If you've just joined us on SEN, the start of the race was delayed because a trackside barrier was damaged in a support race in the build-up, one of the Super 2 races earlier on with the development category of Supercars, the category that Brock Feeney won the title in a couple of years ago. Bit of pressure here at the moment. Will Davison, Zane Goddard. Goddard, though, is now under the gun because he's got Anton De Pasquale, Davison's teammate, right behind him for 8th and 9th in the race. And Anton's trying to slip down the inside at turn 11. The right-hander, he's got it done through. So De Pasquale rises to 8th. The two Dick Johnson Racing Mustangs are 7th and 8th. They've been working their way up through the order all day, and they've had to really fight back. Now, just having a look here, fine Sir Matthew. Brock Feeney's margin's just not changing. It's 12.1, 2, 3 or 4 seconds every time around. He's controlling the race here at the moment. And to the second sector, I mean, which is part way around the lap, they're a 10th apart. There's nothing in it. You get the feeling that Feeney, Brown and Kostecki are driving to the end of this race here. They're not giving everything that they can or their car can, because if they do, it'll look fine and dandy for a few laps, but it will hurt them in the overall scheme of things. They've got to be smart about this and get as deep as they can. They're 115 laps in. So if you've got the ability to go longer, Shane van Gisbergen, you take it. He's 23.5 seconds off the lead of the race. That's a bit less than last time I looked.
But he's running only 100 slower than the guys around him as well.
Yeah.
So they've all found that little window of where they need to run and not burn the tyres off. We've said that a lot during this race. I think Craig Lowndes' stint was probably the best exponent of not burning tyres off. He got the longest run out of anyone today.
Well, 23rd. He was up to 6th at one stage. Zane Goddard's 9th, which is still a very good job. He's taken over that car. So let's recap the order. Lap 116 on SEN Supercars for Tyre Power, your trusted local. And it's Brock Feeney teaming up today with Jamie Whincup. They lead with Brock at the wheel by 12.6 seconds. Will Brown second in the number 9 Coke car. Brodie Kostecki third in the number 99 Coke Erebus car. Shane van Gisbergen fourth in the second of the Red Bull Ampol Camaros. Matt Payne, the Kiwi rookie, is fifth. He's flying the flag for Ford, for Penrite, for Grove Racing. He sits fifth. He's only 3 seconds behind van Gisbergen. Should something happen, he could very well get another spot. Heimgartner, Andre Heimgartner, 6th, but bad sportsmanship flag for car number 8 for exceeding track limits. He will have to be a very well-behaved Gold Coast Kiwi for this final run to the checkered flag, because he's got that hanging over his head. Davison 7th, De Pasquale 8th, Goddard 9th, Mark Winterbottom now sits in 10th in the DeWalt Camaro that sat earlier on in the race, higher in the field. They were the big beneficiary, he and Michael Caruso, of that first safety car, of when it was deployed. They fired straight in the pit lane at the perfect time to leapfrog some of the leaders who had to wait to come around to make their stop. They had a little pit lane, a pit stop penalty earlier on applied, so they've dropped back a little further, but they're still sitting in the top 10. Tim Slade's 11th. Declan Fraser's having a good run. We haven't said much about the reigning Super 2 winner. He's 12th with Tyler Everingham. Solid run for Tickford Racing. And when you look down the order for Tickford cars, he's the best Tickford car. The other one, the next one's Courtney in 14th. And then you've got to go all the way back to Cam Waters 24th and Thomas Randall 26th. So it's Declan and Tyler who've really flown the flag for them today.
And for the bag qualifying run that the Percat Coulthard number 2 Mustang had, they'll be not over the moon about the result, but at least they're inside that top 20 now. They've made up 8 positions during the course of the first 116 laps. We're looking at De Pasquale. I just caught the tail end of that for the number 17 at the number 11 Mustang. Nothing doing there as they run back in 8th position and 41 seconds away from our leader, Brock Feeney, who just continues to run within hundredths of that lap time for lap after lap in car 88.
A little bit of an update for you from Motorsport Australia Race Control. Remember I said about the time certain finish of 5:43 plus 1 lap. Because we started late, that has been extended to 5:53 plus 1 lap. So an extra 10 minutes to make sure we can get the 161 laps in. So all the teams know that. That is advised to them via the race management channel. Feeney's done lap 118. The 2 Coke cars are just about to complete it. They're 13 seconds behind. Kostecki's closed the margin to half a second starting lap 119. He's about to put the pressure on his teammate Will Brown.
And that will guarantee now that we'll get the entire 161 laps in of today's race. This gap was 2 seconds. It's less than half a second now between Brown and Kostecki. Battle for second and third, while Feeney has 13 seconds on these guys. Now, they don't want to get too caught up here as well, Noons, because they don't want that 88 car to get any further away.
And if you're the team here, look, Will Brown, he's not going to fight. He steps aside on the run down the back straight, lifts off the throttle and allows Brodie Kostecki to slip up the inside.
Good move. So
the championship leader now runs second in the Sandown 500. He is Erebus's best chance as it sits right now to fight for the win. He's a bit deeper on fuel and tyres in terms of how long he can run. He had better pace, and clearly, well, either that call was made by Will Brown or by the team, either or, it was the right call. It's the right call for the team because Kostecki is driving away from Brown straight away. So here's the play. Brodie Kostecki is 13.7 seconds behind Brock Feeney. As it sits right now, there's time. There is absolutely time, but the key element there is they last pitted on the same lap.
Yeah.
So there's not much changing between them in terms of better quality tyres for longer or different high-level differences of fuel. So it's a pretty even neck-and-neck race there. And 88, Brock Feeney, has car pace, and that's the critical thing. He has track position, and he has 13.67 seconds. So if you're Brodie Kostecki right now, you want to hear the two magic words that everybody bar the race leader wants to hear. Safety car. Whether you hear it or not, it's a whole other matter.
Exactly. Tom Randall's just come out the pits, his 5th pit stop of the day. Steering dramas with their Castrol Mustang that he and Gary Jacobson were one of the favourites tipped for this event, one of the many that we had going into the race about 2.5 hours ago. So just join the coverage, confirming we'll go an extra 10 minutes after that start delayed earlier today. So 5:53 local time plus the 1 lap should ensure we get the entire 500 kilometre distance in with 41 laps remaining. 13.7 seconds the margin. Feeney to Kostecki, who's just been released by his own teammate Will Brown. And going after Feeney, both he and Whincup have just controlled this race for the last hour and a half.
Van Gisbergen's actually the fastest of the top format. He's got that margin to the lead. He sits in 4th place. It's down at 22.3 seconds. So I wouldn't count SVG out of this just yet. Lap 121. Brock Feeney's over at turn 9. Shadows starting to form over the road. It's an interesting discussion for track conditions thanks to Polaris Off-Road, because at this stage of the day, the shadows start to form over the track. Doesn't look the same as it did on lap number 1, but it is now all about bringing it on home. But there's still a long way to go. 40 laps, 120 plus kilometres of racing as Feeney clocks off lap 121. That margin's now 14 seconds back to Brodie Kostecki at the line. He's got a second over Will Brown, and the fight's going on. Well, Heimgartner's 6th, but he's got Scott Pye menacing him, but Pye's actually down a couple of laps. So it always can be a bit pesky when you're not fighting for position with someone, but they're giving you a hard time, and that's what Pye's doing to Heimgartner at the moment. So it's Brock Feeney in control. The Sandown 500 at the moment is in almost his grasp, but there's still a long way to go before he and Jamie Whincup can win the 49th Sandown Enduro Classic. Lap 122 now. It's Feeney, Kostecki, Brown, Van Gisbergen and Matt Payne, the top 5 in the Melbourne Enduro. Back at the Sandown 500, it's SEN Supercars for tyre power, your trusted local. And we have our championship leader, Brodie Kostecki, in pit lane for his last stop of the day. He came in from 2nd in the race. He was trailing Brock Feeney, our leader. We're on lap 126, and he's been released and will now have to do 35 laps for the run home. The question is now, what does Brock Feeney, the leader, do? What does Will Brown do? What does Shane Van Gisbergen do? How long can they go on their fuel and their tyres? Feeney's just completed another lap. So he's put a lap on Brodie Kostecki right now, which normally you'd be worried by that, but the reality is that Brock's going to have to pit at some stage anyway. He last pitted at the same time as Kostecki. That was on lap 90. And as we speak, Will Brown is now pitting at the end of lap 126, Matt Naulty.
And 1 minute 12 Noons for our race leader. So they're just starting to drop away at the pointy end. His gap was 20 seconds prior to this pit stop as the Hazelwood Blanchard car is in the pits. Cool Drive Auto Parts machine. And now Will Brown takes on his final stop. Lap 127, so 35 laps remain in the Penrite Oil Sandown 500. The lead-in to Mount Panorama in just a few weeks' time in the Repco Supercars Championship. All looks fairly business-like down here at Coca-Cola Racing.
Just waiting for fuel here for Will Brown, and now he's been released. Also in the Repco Authorised Service pit lane, Zane Goddard, Declan Fraser. This is the last pit stop schedule in terms of what they're all intending to do, unless there's some sort of a misfortune on the run to the finish of the Sandown 500. The leader, Brock Feeney, staying out there. He's just rattled off lap 127. Shane Van Gisbergen is second on the road, and he's catching. Not ripping big time, but bits. It's noticeable. He's got the margin to the leader down to 19 seconds. Earlier on, it was 23 or 24. And as we've been saying earlier on in the race, he can go longer. He pitted last on lap 97. That was about 7 laps later than Feeney and Kostecki took their last stop. He can run a bit longer here and get a bit closer to the end and hopefully have a tyre advantage over them. So if you're Shane Van Gisbergen, if you're a Kiwi, if you want to see him win this race and hear him win this race, what you need right now is for him to go a bit longer, make a good solid pit stop, get a safety car, and then close on up, and then go hard all the way home and have a tyre advantage to pick them off when their tyres drop off in the last 5 laps. That's the theory.
Else, or?
I think I've got a couple of caveats there on him winning this race. Mark Winterbottom, Tim Slade, they're in the lane now. At the moment, Feeney staying out there. 128 laps down, 33 laps to go on that extended time certain finish, Matt. 5:53 plus a lap. Doing the numbers and a few statistics and a bit of spreadsheet burning, there's smoke pouring off the keyboard here. We should pretty much finish bang on time certain finish for 161 full laps. So it's great that Race Control have given us that extra 10 minutes after we lost pretty much 15. We started 15 late because of the barrier repairs from Super 2. Mark Winterbottom released and back onto the road, but we're keeping a watchful brief now for what the leaders do and when they come on to pit lane for the Repco Authorised Service pit lane and get that last pit stop, that last drink of fuel, that last tyre change, and then go for it.
Well, Feeney lost 7/10 of a second on lap 127. He responded on the previous lap, and Van Gisbergen continues to chisel away at that lead as Anton De Pasquale now comes in from 4th position in the Shell V-Power Racing Mustang. And Feeney, again, they're going at it fastest second sector of the race there to Van Gisbergen, so he's starting to turn it up here with 32 laps remaining.
So Feeney staying out there, 129 laps down. Hey, quick one for you. Who's been running hot? Thanks to Ream, proud sponsor of the Shell V-Power Racing team. It's pretty hard to go past Brock Feeney, don't you reckon? He's run hot all day with Jamie Whincup.
Business-like drive and a business-like pit stop there for Dick Johnson Racing as De Pasquale comes out pit lane, starts to come to life with the final round of pit stops. SVG is in the lane now as well. Andre Heimgartner shadows him in the R&J Batteries Camaro. So they were second and third on the road coming into this, keeps Feeney in the lead. Matt Payne goes up into second now.
So Van Gisbergen hasn't gone as deep into the race as I thought he might. He pitted on lap 97, so he's gone, 32 laps since the last pit stop. They're servicing this car now, just waiting for fuel for Van Gisbergen to be released back onto the road. His teammate Brock Feeney is the leader of the race. That will be the critical pit stop for the Red Bull Ampol team. Still waiting for fuel for Van Gisbergen. Lots of fuel to pour into this car. Just enough, though, to get him to the finish line. Doesn't need any more in. Now he's at pit exit. The 2 Coke cars have just gone on by. He'll have some clear road to play with when he rejoins onto the track here at Sandown. And Brock Feeney is now in. So the leader at the end of lap 130 is in for the final pit stop of the race.
Red Bull Ampol Racing go to work on his car. Brand new tyres for his Chevy Camaro to take him through to the finish. Matt Payne has also come into the lane. of Van Gisbergen has come back out in 6th position. A minute 18 was the margin when this car came in there. Remember, 1 minute 10, 1 minute 11. So we'll be back into 1 minute 12s now during this race. You're right, that's going to be something we have to get used to. The long wait for fuel.
It feels very GT racing, doesn't it, with this longer fuel fill. So the fuel flow rate is slower than the old cars and the fuel tank's bigger. So the potential stop time is a bit longer. Feeney released. He's back on his way onto the road and he's got big margin back to the warring fight of those Coke cars. He weaves down the pit straight to just start to warm those tyres up. He's at the end of the Brock straight. Kostecki's coming onto it. So there's a bit of margin there for them to play with. It's 10.5 seconds. So Brodie has made a bit of net time in that overall scheme of things. Van Gisbergen can see the Coke cars. He's closer to them than he was before this pit stop sequence started. So we're on lap 131. Will Davison has taken over the lead of the race, but needs to stop one more time to make it on home. And Brock Feeney will take the lead. As I say that, Will Davison's in now for his final stop. He's on target for a solid top 10 today. And what's been a pretty rough week for the Shell V-Power racing team. They struggled for pace earlier on in the weekend, but they've plugged away at it. And they've been able to put 2 cars in the 10 in the late part of the race. Davison in now to the Dick Johnson Racing crew. They go to work for 4 tyres, fuel, drink bottle top up as well. New drink bottle system in these new cars. They're all the same. They just pull it out, just clip it out and clip a new one in, which is all pretty simple. Brock Feeney is continuing on. Now we've got the margin cleaned out, Matthew. 8.5 seconds between Feeney and Kostecki with 30 laps to go.
So you've got to say the 99 was the big winner out of those two to claw back at least 3.5 to 4 seconds on the Feeney car ahead. Davison released, and that is the entire field that is now pitted and should give us a run home with 30 laps remaining in the Penrite Oil Sandown 500. Brock Feeney 8.2 seconds clear of Kostecki. It's another 2 seconds back to Will Brown, another 5 seconds back to Shane Van Gisbergen, 15 seconds away from the lead. It's Heimgartner next. Haven't they done a good job to get back up to where they are in 5th position? Payne and Davison are next in the 1st and 2nd Mustangs. Golding, De Pasquale and Bryce Forward bringing the Middies Camaro up inside the top 10.
And Macaulay Jones in 11th still has our Makita hot lap for Makita XGT. Power without limits. Fastest lap of the race, 1:10.40. That was way back. Lap 65. We've come a long way since then.
And Macca's never set a fastest lap ever in his Supercars career.
Don't jinx him right now.
Come on, Macca, you can do it today.
Feeney out front. Margin to Kostecki, 7.6. Brodie's going to work. He got nearly a second that time around. Will Brown a 1:10.5. So the Erebus boys have got a sniff. Lap 133 of the Sandown 500 and a new Makita hot lap. Matt's jinxed it. Matt Payne, a 1:10.32. Last time around, he's the best forward. He's in 6th position. He and Kevin Estre, the French Porsche International, have done a beautiful job today. They're 6th in the race. Will Davison's rejoined is 7th. He's under pressure from James Golding. De Pasquale forward. That's the top 10. Our leader, Brock Feeney, is over at turn 9, the left-hander that brings him back towards the pit lane. This little right-left sequence that brings them onto the pit straight. The shadows starting to form over the road here at Sandown. And it's Feeney out in front. But the championship leader, Brodie Kostecki, is going to work. He is starting to pull the margin away from the leader. It was 7.5 seconds at the margin. Last time around, it's 7.1. Kostecki a 1:10.7. Feeney a 1:11.2. I reckon Brock, though, Matt, is just bringing those tyres up. He doesn't need to go too hard too early here. He's got a buffer. He can really just play himself in here.
7 seconds, the margin. As the sun starts to head west, we get these long shadows. This is about what time the top 10 shootout was yesterday, and a later finish of the Sandown 500 than what we've seen in years gone by. Some clouds that hung around earlier during the day, they disappeared. It's been 3 magnificent days here in the southeastern suburbs of Melbourne. The 49th running of the Penrite Oils Sandown 500. This race far from done with Feeney, Kostecki, Brown, your top three, covered by 8 seconds.
It's building to an interesting tight finish. It is on between Feeney. Kostecki has a sniff. Brown hanging in there, and Van Gisbergen not done with just yet. It all changes with a safety car. It would bring Andre Heimgartner into the mix. It brings Matt Payne into the mix, and it adds that uncertainty for those who've dominated the race all day. Will Brown's just set his fastest lap of the race, a 1:10.5 on lap 134. Kostecki margin of Feeney is 7 seconds. Here on SEN Supercars, it's lap 135. Feeney, Kostecki, Brown, Van Gisbergen and Heimgartner. That's the top five. The run to the checkered flag. When we come back, it's Feeney in control in Melbourne.
Supercars on SEN, and the gap comes back to 5.7 seconds. Feeney to Kostecki as the sun disappears. The shadows are getting longer, and the gap is getting closer. Aaron Noonan and Matt Naulty with you, driving you home with 23 laps to go in this race. And Kostecki continues to chip away. There's lap traffic just ahead. Brown 1.3 seconds away, but the man to keep an eye on is that 97. 5 seconds away. He's made up a whopping 15 positions today.
It's been a big fight back for Shane Van Gisbergen. He and Richie Stanaway are in the race. Andre, oh, we got a drama. Car 35, Cameron Hill, is off the road. He's in the gravel trap. That's on the exit of turn 9, and he's stopped. He doesn't look like he's actually bogged. He just hasn't made it out the other side. So is there a mechanical issue with car 35, Truck Assist Camaro, that was running 12th, having a good day? And this might be the second safety car of the race. He's not trying to get that car moving. It's stopped and stuck.
It's raining still.
It sounds like the power's on.
Yeah.
But safety car, here it is. BP Ultimate Safety Car is coming out on lap 140. Ho, 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 we've got a race. Brock Feeney, all that margin, all that dominating. He's going to have to fight for the win in the Sandown 500. With 21 to go, it's all going to be tied up.
But if you're worried about tyre wear, now will we see a few teams roll the dice here and put on a set? I see a couple of teams out of our window looking likely to do that. And it's certainly down at Team 18 with the DeWalt team.
I don't know if they're going to do that with Mark Winterbottom in 11th. They might do that with Scott Pye.
He's 20th in the car 20.
This just spiced it. You like your supercars a bit spicy on a Sunday afternoon on SEN?
You're going to get it.
You're going to get it here. Of course, our coverage today for Tyre Power. Pole position for value on Toyo tyres. And Brock Feeney's been in control of this race, although Brodie Kostecki was going hunting. Van Gisbergen was going hunting. Now they can do their hunting from much closer to their prey. Cameron Hill off the road at turn 9. We're catching a replay here in our commentary box, and a little bit hard to know how he's ended up off here. He was on his own, locked up. I'm not sure if there's been a failure of some sort in that car, but he's ended up all the way in the gravel trap that's at the exit of turn 9, and he's going nowhere. So the BP Ultimate Safety Car comes out. Remember, we've got about 23 minutes on the clock before we hit the time-certain finish for this race. So we're still going to get plenty of racing time here to try to sort this out. It won't take long to remove Cameron Hill from the gravel trap at turn 9.
It's a mystery why that car has gone off and just stopped where it's not sunk in the gravel. In fact, we've had no cars actually get stuck down in the gravel trap at Dandenong Road Corner, which
all got through.
Astounds me.
Yeah, they've all got through over the course of the weekend. It doesn't look like it's as deep as it used to be, because it used to claim cars very quickly. So let's breathe. Let's just breathe here for a moment. Lap 141. Brock Feeney's the leader from Brodie Kostecki, Will Brown, Shane Van Gisbergen, Andre Heimgartner, Matthew Payne, Will Davison, Anton De Pasquale, Tim Slade and Zane Goddard, the rookie in Wildcat. He's not a rookie, he's been around a little bit. He formerly raced main game. Striving with Craig Lowndes, they're 10th. Winterbottom's 11th, Declan Fraser 12th, best Tickford car, James Courtney 13th. They are the only cars that remain on the lead lap of this Sandown 500.
And that's really helped out Brodie Kostecki, in this race. He was chipping away at that lead that Brock Feeney had. It was out to 7 seconds. It got back down to 5 before this safety car period came out, but now it's back to 0. That's going to set up a thrilling maybe 19 laps to the end.
There's an interesting player in this pack here, and he's 14th in the race. James Golding in the Noonan Camaro. He's the first of the lapped cars. He's sitting right behind Brock Feeney. So Brodie Kostecki's going to have to deal with a lap car before he can have a go at Brock Feeney. Of course, you can't pass before you get to the control line. You can overlap. Now, you wonder before who would come in for tyres. Scott Pye has come on in for tyres. He's 1 lap down, not a contender for the win of this race. So 141 laps have been complete. We are slowly beginning lap 142 behind the BP Ultimate Safety Car. Remember, fill up at BP, win a Supercars weekend. The details online, bp.com.au/super holiday. And right now, the rattle guns are blaring at Tickford because Cam Waters, another of the cars who is a lap down, they thought, well, you know what? Let's bring him on in and throw some tyres at him as well.
Just can't think of what may have been for the Monster Mustang team. James Moffat that started this car today when it was caught up completely innocently by the wheel from Garth Tander's car that parted ways with his Penrite Mustang on lap 19. So good news, the truck assist Chevy Camaro has been towed out of Dandenong Road corner.
It's fired
Looks
up.
like he's good to go.
Yeah, Cameron Hill's driving away and clearing the area. He's dropped to 25th and a couple of laps down. Trying to see if there's any damage to this car. Right front. Look, it's that was leaning, that front tyre and front wheel. I don't know if he's clattered the fence or had a breakage on the way in there, but it didn't look straight to me.
We saw some smoke going into Dandenong Road corner, so he may have glanced at guardrail on the outside. And he's going to come back into the pits here, at least get a result. It's interesting, Tickford Racing laying out in the lane for...
And that is for either 55 or 56.
55.
Okay, so 55, Thomas Randall, he's many laps down. So you know what? You may as well do a brake pad change to practice with a hot car. Can't hurt. They are 26th in the race and 13 laps down. So the leaders are weaving around. The lights are still on our BP Ultimate Safety Car when they go out. That's the sign that we're going to get a restart. We won't get it this time around. This will be the end of lap 142. I reckon we're going to get one more lap of safety car here before this Sandown 500, which is building to one heck of a finish, will restart. It's the 23rd race of the championship. There's not many left. Bathurst in October, 2 more on the Gold Coast, and then 2 in Adelaide late November with the Velo Adelaide 500, the ultimate street race to complete the weekend. So who is where and what does this all mean? It's a fight to the finish. Feeney is our leader of the race. They are down the Brock Straight at the moment, weaving left and right, trying to keep some temperature in their tyres so as the pressure and the temp is up for when the green flag flies and they resume racing, which will be in just over 3 kilometres time. Leaders are at turn 1 behind the BP Ultimate Safety Car, which by my reckoning is probably doing about 80 k's an hour at the moment, which looks like 5 kilometres when you've watched cars racing all day around this Sandown circuit. And race control advising that car 7, Aaron Love, car 35, Cameron Hill, and 55, Gary Jacobson, they must drive through pit lane to reposition to get out of the fight. That's in the Supercars operations manual to get them out of the way so they can't play a part. It's not like the old days where the lap cars stayed there and they could get in the way. It clears it up for the guys fighting for the win to fight for the win.
And also speeds up the process of the restart as well, so they can come through, tag on, and it should shorten up this safety car period. So 19 laps to go, and track conditions will change dramatically in the next 10 minutes. With the sun disappearing, it gets incredibly cool very quickly. At Sandown Raceway, we've had lots of UV during the day, temperatures in the mid-20s all weekend long, and that's going to play a factor in this final few laps of the race. Good news is the safety car lights are going out. It's speeding away. Feeney, Kostecki, Brown, Van Gisbergen and Heimgartner, your top 5.
Little update, Cam Hill, reason why he's off the road, steering failure in car 35. No warning, off the road and in the wall. That car's back to the pit lane now. Sits 25th, 137 laps complete. The leaders are on the exit of turn 9. The control is with Brock Feeney. This is the end of lap 143. He's pacing the field here, deciding where he stands on the throttle to get us going. He's going to go before the penultimate corner, step on it, and then brake again for the left-hander that brings them onto the pit straight. He's got a margin because James Golding, the lap car behind him, hasn't gone with him. He's hung back and not been able to run. Now he's going to have to step aside, James Golding, for Brodie Kostecki, and the championship leader now starts to chase for the Sandown 500. Feeney leads. Kostecki and Brown have cleared the lap car of James Golding. It's a straight-out Camaro fight for the win in the 500, but Feeney's got a little margin as he bounces the curves. Turns 2, turn 3, the left-hander, turn 4, onto the back straight. The perfect restart. He's got 0.8 of a second on the run down the back straight.
Van Gisbergen has those 2 cars to clear along this back straight, the long back straight at Sandown Raceway. As the afternoon sets in, turn 6, 7, 8 and 9 now, the leader, who has 0.6 of a second, back to Kostecki and Brown.
Few lap cars for Van Gisbergen to have to deal with before he can get clear and see Will Brown's bumper bar. James Golding and Jack LeBrock, 14th and 15th, are in the way. Doing the maths, we might not quite get 161. We will be at the time certain finish, but there's still a long way to go. They're across the line, 144 down, and on his first flying lap, Brodie Kostecki sets his fastest lap of the day. 0.6 is the margin. Championship leader is not going to cruise and conserve. He will throw everything at winning the Sandown 500 for Erebus Motorsport, who've never won the 500. Triple Eight won the last 2 in 2018 and 2019. He looks like the man who could stop them from winning 3 in a row in the Melbourne Endurance Classic.
And remember, while they might have the car pace out there, they've got to take into consideration Spinner at the background. It's the 56 right in front of the field. Tricky spot to do it. He'll drop to the tail of the field and the luckless Castro Mustang.
Well, the worst part of that is I think James Courtney was delayed as well. So the 3 Tickford cars are all involved in the one scenario that's dropped them from the fringe of the 10 with Courtney and Fraser right back in the pack. So Feeney leads. He's coming up to finish lap 145, and they're now setting their fastest sectors of the race. They've got their fresh tyres that they've saved up for this run home. There's nothing to save now. It's go for the win. Use the rubber. Use the fuel. They're all setting their fastest lap of the race on 145. Kostecki, Van Gisbergen. Shane is not done. 4th in the race. He's got a lap car to clear of James Golding, and then he's clear. Then he's clear to attack for a podium position from 19th on the grid. That's why you never count out. Feeney a little slow onto the back straight. Kostecki has a sniff as they run flat strap down the back straight. He's going hunting for the Red Bull Ampol Camaro. Brodie Kostecki is in the slipstream and he looks racy.
And back to my point, there's a lot of rubber on the outside of the racing line now too, so while you might have the pace, you've got to be really brave where you put the car. Absolutely keep an eye on the series leader. He's quicker again on this lap than Feeney just ahead, but has time on his side. Do you go too early? You don't want to get past here too early on the race leader, but he's got the car pace.
There's 13 minutes of racing left to go. If an opportunity presents,
go.
Brodie Kostecki will take. He will take it. Give him an inch, he takes a mile. 146 laps down in the Sandown 500, and it's just 0.3 of a second at the line. The race has come alive. What did we say all day? If that BP Ultimate Safety Car came back into the race, it would close it right in. And Brodie Kostecki is all over the back of Brock Feeney through turn 2, turn 3. He's right on the bumper bar. He's very good on the exit of turn 4. Onto the back straight. Will Brown's not far away. Van Gisbergen has cleared the lap car of James Golding. This is a race to the finish. It's time to go for the win, but it's time to think big picture. Lots to gain here, but lots to lose.
He gets the toe down the back straight, but they run out of racetrack before that change of direction at 6. But it's bringing Will Brown into it. But it's also going to bring the 97 of Van Gisbergen now that Golding's out the way. He's found half a second alone in the first sector. Kostecki all over the back. of the 88 into the last set of turns. Looks better. The drive out the final turn's got him nicely. We look back at the 99. This could be a change to the lead here.
He had better run off turn 4 onto the back straight. He's got better run out of turn 12 onto the front straight. They're down at turn 1 and Brock is going to run defensive. Not quite fully up the inside, but not quite on the race line. That's the first indication to know that he knows he's got a threat. And Brodie won't go away. Lap 148. It's 5:42. Now Brodie looks for the inside at 4. Not quite there. It'll slow him down. It'll bring Will Brown into the game. Brown's closer to Kostecki than Kostecki is to Feeney. He looked for a move at turn 4. It wasn't there. It slowed his run on the back straight, and he's lost a couple of tenths to the leader.
This is great. 0.3 of a second cover the first 3 cars. Van Gisbergen 1.5 seconds away from the lead. It's going to be a grandstand finish here today at the Penrite Oil Sandown 500 as they make their way under the historic bridge and down to the last turn. This is the biggest margin Feeney's had since the restart. Back to Kostecki. I think he's just taking a lap to cool it down and go back into the battle with the 88.
He might be ruining that decision to show the nose there, because that turn was where he was strong. That's where he got the run the previous lap. Margin at the line. Lend of lap 148. It's 0.5 of a second. Brown and Van Gisbergen watching brief. Will's not far off here at all. Van Gisbergen's 2.2 seconds off the lead, 1.2 off Brown. Heimgartner's not that far away. If anyone drops their bundle, he's ready for a podium. Matt Payne 6th, Will Davison 7th, Anton De Pasquale. The Fords aren't too far away. They're not in the fight for the win here, but they've salvaged something. Earlier in the day, what was it? 9 Camaros in the 10.
Yep.
You got 3 Mustangs, 6, 7 and 8, having their own private fight. Into the back straight, lap 149. And Kostecki's just starting to inch up to the back of Brock Feeney. Going to take another lap or 2 to get close enough to get back to where he was. So for Brock Feeney, he knew that he was a little vulnerable, or that Brodie might look at turn 1. He just covered it just a little bit there and is controlling the run onto the pit straight. It's Brock Feeney on the Brock straight at the end of lap 149. It's 5:44, 9 minutes and 1 lap of racing. You want a grandstand finish? You've got it on SEN. It's SEN Supercars for tyre power, your trusted local. And we have got a race for the lead, for the win, for the biggest race in Melbourne, the 49th Sandown Enduro Classic. There's 300 championship points on the line. And you know what? Right now, not one of these blokes cares about the 300. They want the Sandown 500 trophy. We don't know how many more races we'll have here. We don't know how many more years we'll have here. It won't be too long. They want to get onto that honour roll with Peter Brock, with Alan Moffat, with Dick Johnson, with Craig Lowndes, with all the superstars of the game of Australian motorsport.
Through 6 and 7. Gap sits at half a second between the first 3 cars. Kostecki, has he got enough in the tank? Is he lining up maybe for the next few minutes? Feeney is responding. He's about to set his fastest lap of the race. He's trying to break the spirit of the Coca-Cola Racing by Erebus Camaro duo behind.
7.5 minutes, Matt, of racing. Lap 150's complete. It's 7/10 at the line. Nothing in it, but Feeney just looks like he's been able to fight off that advance that Kostecki made. It's Feeney leading, Kostecki second, Brown, Van Gisbergen, Payne, Davison, De Pasquale, Tim Slade, great drive. Up into 8 for Premier Racing and Peter Shivers' team. Zane Goddard 9th, Mark Winterbottom 10th. James Courtney 11th and Declan Fraser 12th. That drama that they had earlier, they've held those positions because there were lots of other cars 1 lap down, but it's lost them contact with the field in front. End of the back straight. Lap 151. 6 minutes 45 on the clock, plus 1 lap once we reach 0 on the clock. 2 safety car periods today, a long way apart. The first one on lap 20, when a wheel came off the Garth Tander Mustang that he shared with David Reynolds and crashed at turn 6 and ended up off in the sand down at turn 9. And then we had to wait till lap 140 when Cameron Hill had steering failure and ended up in the bunker. The same bunker that Garth Tander ended up in 151 laps down. Margin at the line, 6/10. Feeney hanging tough, trying to win his first Sandown 500. Trying to get Jamie Whincup his 5th Sandown 500. And what a record Whincup has in this race. A winner with Craig Lowndes in 2007. A winner in 2013, 2014 with his great friend Paul Dumbrell. They won again in 2018, and then Jamie did it when he got back together with Craig Lowndes the last time that we had the 500 at Sandown in 2019. So a big opportunity here for Triple Eight to win its 3rd straight Sandown 500. They won their first with Craig Lowndes in 2005. Lowndes and Ivan Muller, the Frenchman, in the better electrical Ford. Lap 152. We won't run the full 161 because of the delayed start, a couple of safety car periods, but nevertheless, we have got a race to the end, and Van Gisbergen starting to close here on Will Brown. Can Shane and Richie Stanaway get to the podium from 19th on the grid? End of lap 152. Feeney just set his fastest lap of the race for that car. He's got the margin to 8/10. He looks like he might just have done enough here to hang on. 4 minutes 50 plus 1 lap. Cars are at turn 4, jumping the curbs. They're throwing everything at this. There's nothing left. They're going to use the tyres, use all the fuel, use all the revs. It's Feeney leading. It's Kostecki second. It's Will Brown third. It's Van Gisbergen fourth. Remember, Kostecki leads the championship coming in. Shane second. Brock third. Will fourth. So the cream of 2023, the cars that have done all the winning, are fighting for the win in the first endurance race of the year. It's the build-up to Bathurst, the road to Mount Panorama, and the 60th anniversary great race. But we're not done here at Sandown. Melbourne's own Enduro bubbled along for a little while, started to look like it was going to be pretty predictable, and then the BP Ultimate Safety Car added some spice, a bit of sugar, and it gave us a bit of a race for this run home. 3 minutes 55 plus a lap. Couple of laps to go. We've done 153. There are 7 previous winners of the Sandown 500 in today's race. Jamie Whincup is one of them. Brock Feeney might just join him on that list. They're watching on intently in all the garages to bring this on home at the end of Melbourne's Endurance Classic. 153 laps completed. It's Chevrolet Camaros 1 to 5, Ford Mustangs 6, 7 and 8, Camaros 9, 10 and 11. We have 13 cars left on the lead lap. Now problem, Will Brown is wide at the back of turn 9 at the end of the back straight. He's out through the grass, he's out through the runoff, and Van Gisbergen is onto the podium. Van Gisbergen gets on through, and Jack Perkins can only watch and see a podium position slip through his fingers with just 3 minutes and a lap left. A mistake from Will Brown off the road at the end of the back straight, and Van Gisbergen grabs 3rd place. There's just 2 minutes 40 and 1 lap to go. 154 laps completed. And now for Will Brown, it's a case of bringing it on home. He just was too deep, too wide at the end of the back straight. Went out through the bitumen, out through the grass. And by the time he rejoined, Van Gisbergen had pounced on the position. By the way, in position 25, new fastest lap of the race with Gary Jacobson, a 1:10.1. So a little bit of pre-Bathurst testing to see how fast a Mustang can go over 1 lap. Leaders at the end of the back straight. Feeney's got margin. He's built 1.3 seconds back to Brodie Kostecki as they drop down the hill to Dandenong Road corner. The left-hander, turn 9, up over the exit curb. This has been quality driving from Brock Feeney. Jamie Whincup started in his car. He passed Jack Perkins twice to take the lead of the race. He did it for the first time on lap 5. He had to do it again on lap 41. And since then, they've been the dominant car. They've led far more laps than anybody else. He's crossed the line now. Van Gisbergen sets his fastest lap of the race. He's 1.2 seconds away from Brodie Kostecki. 1 minute 25 plus 1 lap is their time for Red Bull Ampol to be 1-2 in the Sandown 500. They've done it before, in fact. They've been 1, 2, 3 before. They've got 3 cars in this race. Right now, they're 1, 3 and 10. Zane Goddard in the Super Cheap Auto wildcard car sits in 10th. It's been one heck of a race here on SEN. Your Supercars and your Sunday for tyre power. Pole position for value on Toyo tyres. And if you're a Red Bull fan, you're getting value now. They're 1 and 3. And Van Gisbergen is going hunting. He might run out of time here. He might not get enough of an opportunity to have a crack at Brodie Kostecki for second place. So 300 points are waiting. Brock Feeney's onto the Brock straight to end lap 156. And as he does that, the clock has hit 25 seconds. So we will go to 0 seconds and a lap. So he's down at turn 1. The clock will run out before he gets pretty much to the back straight. So we'll get one more lap after this one to finish off another Sandown 500. How good is it that this race has been back on the calendar? It's been a warm-up race for Bathurst for so many years, but it has its own amazing history. Next year, the 60th anniversary, the 50th running of this Sandown Enduro. The 500 is about to come to an end. The clock has run out. The leaders are at the end of the back straight. There'll be one more lap after this one, so we'll go 158 laps of racing in this Sandown 500. A recap: Feeney your leader, Kostecki second, Van Gisbergen third, Will Brown a distant fourth, and dropping back to Heimgartner. Andre Heimgartner is fifth for Brad Jones Racing at a track that has not really suited them in the past. BJR, it's not been a historically strong track for that Albury-based team as they complete another run across the line. This will be the final lap of 158. Time certain finish is coming up for us here at Sandown on SEN. And Brock Feeney has got about 3 kilometres of racing between he and his first Sandown 500 victory. Onto the back straight for the final time. The margin is an even second. He's been able to hang tough with Brodie Kostecki, save what he needed to when he needed to spend it, and he's on his way with the lights ablaze down the back straight here at Sandown for the final time over the hill. Plenty of fans of this young gun from the Gold Coast. He stepped into the shoes of Jamie Whincup last year, won the Adelaide 500, and is fighting for the championship. This is the perfect way to put 300 points in his kit bag to leave Melbourne. He's at the second last turn. The right hand is clear. The left hand is clear. Brock Feeney is going to win the Sandown 500 in Melbourne. Feeney, Whincup and Triple Eight have done the job. They win in Melbourne. Brodie Kostecki and David Russell are home in second place. Shane Van Gisbergen makes it third place with Richie Stanaway from 19th on the grid. Will Brown and Jack Perkins are fourth. Andre Heimgartner and Darwood are fifth. The best of the Mustangs is Matt Payne and Kevin Estray. Will Davison and Alex Davison are seventh. Anton De Pasquale is eighth, along with Tony D'Alberto. But it's Brock Feeney and Jamie Whincup. They've got the job done. The first Enduro is in the bag. And the next one is the big one, the Repco Bathurst 1000. You'll get it all on SEN with our Supercars coverage. The shootout on Saturday, October the 7th. The race, the great race, the 60th anniversary race is on October 8th. But today, Sandown in the books. Jamie Whincup, a 5-time winner.